Chapter 383. It's him, Shimizu Garashi. The real monster is here. That bastard named Kakashi must not die. At this moment, everyone was screaming in fear. Even Black Zetsu and Black Zetsu, who were far away in the mist, were instinctively frightened. Is this the first attack after 3 years? Bordered Soil whispered as he looked at the scene in the mirror. Stop playing. Black Zetsu urged, take advantage of this moment to seal Sanbai. Bordered Soil shook his head slightly, it's too late. Black Zetsu screamed, what did you say? Aren't you just one step away? The place where Kakashi attacked just destroyed the sealing technique I set in advance. Damn it. If Sanbai falls into Woodleaf's hands, it will greatly increase the difficulty of our plan to collect tailed beasts. Don't worry, Bordered Soil's eyes were indifferent, I have a second plan, they can't take Sanbai away. Black Zetsu's eyes lit up, what other plan do you have? Just as he was about to ask, Obito, who had been maintaining a calm demeanor, suddenly widened his eyes and looked at the mirror in disbelief. How is this possible? What's the fuss about? What's impossible for a monster like Shimizu Garashi? He can't be defeated by Rokubi, right? Black Zetsu cursed in his heart as he looked at the mirror. He was stunned and shouted, how is this possible? Let's rewind time a few seconds ago. On the sea. Looking at the little bug that suddenly appeared, Rokubi instinctively felt a burst of discomfort. The other party had a smell that made it uncomfortable. Driven by instinct, Rokubi stretched out a huge palm from its soft body and slapped down at the little bug. However, the figure was frightened and stood motionless until a huge shadow covered him, then he calmly raised his right hand above his head. Just right, I'll use you to test the results of these 3 years. Boom! The huge palm was easily raised, and no matter how hard Rokubi tried, it couldn't press down. Such a scene was as shocking and absurd as an ant lifting a mountain. Sixtails was stunned for a moment, as if it had been humiliated. It angrily extended several arms from its body to slap the other party. Garashi did not have the habit of taking hits passively. He grabbed Rokubi's fingertips and threw it over his shoulder. Liu Bai was thrown to the ground and didn't react for a long time. It was hit by an ant? Everyone looked at this scene in disbelief. Naturally, they knew that Rokubi was no match for Shimizu Garashi, but how could he defeat a tailed beast with pure physical strength? This was beyond their comprehension. Are you kidding me? A human defeated a tailed beast with his physical body? The strong acid secreted by Rokubi's body can even corrode rocks and the earth. How is he fine? Leah recalled the 2 times he had escaped, and his entire body trembled. He's become even more terrifying. He's like a monster. No, monsters aren't as terrifying as him. Brother Kakuzu, why don't we leave now? Kakuzu nodded in agreement. This was the first time he agreed with Raiga's suggestion. You're right. It's time to strategically move. However, before they could take a few steps, they were stopped by Empress Shomiai and a dozen Kirin ninjas. Raiga-senpai, can we return the village's ninja swords? Raiga's face was gloomy. You guys are no match for us. Of course, I know, Empress Shomiai smiled happily. But, I can still stop them for a while. Rokubi, who was thrown to the other side of the sea, was stunned for a moment. After a moment of confusion, it roared and pounced on Garashi again. I've been training day and night beside the mineral veins for the past 3 years, using the demon's extreme training method to repair my body with the life energy contained in the mineral veins. That's how I can control more power. Garashi was calm. He stretched out his index finger and pointed forward. Finger gun, positron cannon. The rapidly compressed air cannon was pushed forward at a speed far beyond the speed of sound. The friction with the surrounding air even brought about sparks and static electricity. It was like a beam of light mixed with fire and thunder, directly penetrating Rokubi's body. Although it wasn't fatal, Liu Bai still let out a wail and fell softly on the surface of the sea. Seeing this, Garashi nodded in satisfaction. His soul was much stronger than his body. After absorbing Mithraya's spiritual power 3 years ago, the imbalance between his soul and body was magnified many times. Now, his physical strength had finally caught up with his soul. Reigen noticed this scene from the corner of his eye and felt his scalp tingle. Although Shimizu Garashi was strong in the past, he could at least understand. But now, he could not understand how he could be so strong. With this kind of physical strength, he would believe it if someone said that his species had changed. On the other side, Kakashi's pale face finally regained some color. I'm really useless. I've troubled Senpai again. However, if Senpai makes a move, Sanbai can. Kakashi looked at the direction of Sanbai with joy, his pupils suddenly shrank, and he shouted angrily. No. Everyone subconsciously looked at the direction Kakashi was looking at. The chakra around Sanbai's body was boiling violently. They saw Yagura smile. It's over. Boom. Accompanied by a loud noise, a horrible mushroom cloud rose to the sky, and huge waves of hundreds of meters high were instantly set off on the sea surface. Countless winds raged on the sea surface, and dead fish and shrimp fell like raindrops. When everything calmed down, the people of the mist who fell into the sea once again climbed out of the sea in a sorry state. They were shocked when they saw the place where Sanbai was entrenched was replaced by a giant whirlpool. Sanbai, self-destructed? No, the Mizukage controlled Sanbai to commit suicide. Hiss. He's really decisive. Wait, when did Mizukage-sama have this ability? I understand, it must be because the seal is more than half completed, so Mizukage-sama can barely control Sanbai, right? Looking at this scene, Kakashi's blood stagnated, and he vomited a big mouthful of blood. Although he was ready to kill Sanbai before, after Senpai came, his heart was rekindled with hope. This kind of difference from hell to heaven and back again was unbearable for him, and then he vomited a few more mouthfuls of blood. Kirin Village. Looking at Kakashi who was constantly vomiting blood, Bordered Soil felt that his soul was sublimated, and he laughed happily. Suffer the same pain as me. Looking at Bordered Soil's sick smile, even Black Zetsu felt a chill on his back, but he soon noticed a strange thing. Even if I can't personally avenge Rin, why is Kakashi so painful? Is there a secret hidden in this? Chapter 384. The storm on the sea gradually calmed down. Looking at the angry Kakashi who wanted to kill him, Yagura sneered. The Sanbai was given to Kirin by your first dame Naruto. I didn't care about you snatching it, but now you're looking at me like that? Asuma sneered. The Sanbai was indeed given to you by the first dame, but you can't keep it, so why can't we take it? Yagura snorted. Whatever you say, in short, the Sanbai is dead now, so there's no need for us to continue fighting. Let's go. With that, Yagura was about to turn around and take the Rokubi. At this time, Garashi suddenly said. Mizukage-sama, I think you should stay here today. Yagura's body stiffened, but he quickly returned to normal and said in a mocking tone. What? Finally, you don't want to hide your ambition, are you going to use your strength to control Kirin? Hearing this, the Kirin ninjas on the sea looked at Garashi angrily. In their view, it was Woodleaf who maliciously snatched Kirin's tailed beast, forcing the Mizukage-sama to kill the Sanbai, and now he wants to vent his anger on the Mizukage-sama. It's too much. Damn it, even if you're the god of ninjas, you can't humiliate Kirin. Let's fight him and use our blood to awaken the others. Looking at Yagura, Garashi chuckled. You're good at provoking people, but it's only useful if you're the Mizukage. Yagura's eyes were a little flustered, but he quickly concealed it. I am the Mizukage. You're not. Garashi smiled and shook his head. The real Mizukage can't use genjutsu to control the Sanbai. Yagura said in a deep voice. That's a seal. I can't distinguish between genjutsu and genjutsu. Garashi couldn't help but laugh. Besides, is your ability to control the Hozuki Shingeki also a seal? Hearing Aizen's words, everyone's heart was a little shaken. Sir Xianyu's change of stance was indeed strange. His crazed and bloodthirsty state was even more concerning. Coupled with Shimizu Garashi's almost perfect reputation, they have to doubt the authenticity of the Mizukage-sama. Yagura took a deep breath. I didn't control him. He chose to help me. Garashi smiled and said, why don't you let me remove the illusion for you? Yagura's face was gloomy. I think you're the one who wants to use genjutsu to control me, right? Garashi shrugged. Then you guys from Kirin can do it. Yagura firmly refused. Who knows if they're secretly under your control? Garashi smiled. So, you don't intend to prove it? Yagura scoffed. Why should I listen to you? You're from Woodleaf. What qualifications do you have to interfere with our Kirin's business? Garashi said solemnly. During the Kyuubi rebellion, someone tried to control the 4th generation Naruto. If you're really under their control, then the person behind you might be the one who caused the Kyuubi rebellion. Of course, I'm qualified to ask. Hearing Garashi's voice, Raiga and Kakuzu, who were stopped by Empress Shomiai, looked at Yagura. They knew that the person behind the Kyuubi rebellion was Hoodlum's father. And since Hoodlum's father is dead, then the person behind the Mizukage shouldn't be Hoodlum, right? Especially Kakuzu, thinking that the Mizukage didn't seem to want to fight him, he was more convinced of this guess. Yagura asked. What do you want? Garashi said. Either you let someone remove the illusion for you, or I'll beat you until you remove the illusion. Yagura's mouth twitched, and without saying a word, he rushed in a certain direction. Let's join forces. Seeing Yagura rushing towards them, Kakuzu Raiga's face turned green, and in his heart, many beautiful words came out. However, they also knew that they were blocked by Kirin's people, and once Yagura was defeated, Shimizu Garashi would most likely capture them. Thinking of this, they could only bite the bullet. Garashi glanced at the so-called 3 people joining forces and appeared in front of Raiga like lightning. Why me? Is it because I'm the weakest? Looking at the nightmare that suddenly appeared in front of him, Raiga was depressed, and regardless of anything, he raised his thunder sword and slashed at the opponent. The 2 thunder swords were surrounded by electric snakes, and just being close to them gave people a feeling of numbness. However, Shushi did not take any precautions. Instead, he chopped down with his hand. No ninjutsu. Raiga's eyes lit up. Even if your body is strong, the power of lightning is not so easy to bear. However, when the lightning spread to Shimizu Garashi's body, an invisible shield appeared on the surface of his body, blocking the lightning, and when it collided with the thunder sword, it even made a sound of metal colliding. Then, in his incredulous eyes, the thunder sword was knocked away, and he was also knocked away. It seems that my armament hockey is good. Looking at Raiga, who fell directly on the sea and couldn't get up, Garashi nodded slightly. The combination of spiritual energy and physical energy can be refined into chakra, and the spiritual energy alone can be released in the form of soul coercion, and the physical energy alone is the armament hockey demonstrated by Morio. However, it's still not enough. Garashi sighed in his heart. Although he has now reached a balance between soul and body, this is only in a normal state. If he takes back the dream world into his body, his soul strength will undoubtedly usher in a wave of surge. Therefore, he is now trying to focus on physical energy. The first one. Hearing Garashi spit out 3 words, Kakuzu's heart suddenly contracted, and it was too late to think about it. He saw Garashi teleport in front of him and raised his right leg like a sharp axe. You want to beat me without using ninjutsu? Do you think I'm a waste like Raiga? Kakuzu's heart was ruthless and he was ready to lose his life. He gathered the 5 masks on his right arm and met the attack head-on. Earth's Grudge, final shot. 5 attributes of ninjutsu broke out at the same time, but these forces fell on Garashi's body without any reaction. Just like a river washing a stone, it flowed past the stone without any impact. Kakuzu stared in disbelief, and then he was kicked by the other side. At this moment, he felt like he was hit by a running-tailed beast at the speed of sound, his body was falling apart, and 3 of his hearts were broken in an instant. In the distance. Looking at Garashi, who defeated 2 strong people in the blink of an eye, Asuma muttered to himself, Garashi has become the same as when he was in school. No, he's even more brutal. When he was still in the ninja academy, Garashi was famous for his powerful and violent taijutsu. It was only later that he developed ice release and would release that his fighting style became more harmonious. But now, that terrible memory is coming back again. If Shushi were to teach me a lesson like he did in the past, wouldn't I be beaten to a pulp? Chapter 385. As the battle on the sea came to an end, the chaos in Kirin village also subsided. There were flames everywhere, and the light of the flames illuminated the village, causing hatred and pain to take root and sprout. Damn it, let these ninjas die. How much longer will this endless and meaningless battle last? Why are people in the same village fighting each other? The villagers on the street cursed, but they kept their voices low, afraid of being overheard. In this blood-red environment, a little boy was carried out of the restaurant. The boy didn't struggle, he just said seriously, "I'm diligent and hardworking, I don't need money, just give me something to eat and a place to live." The man who carried him looked at him with disgust. "Who wants a beggar like you? Besides, I'm fighting and killing every day, I can barely feed myself, how can I afford to feed you?" The boy lowered his head in frustration. "Am I still not needed?" The man walked to a corner of the street full of flies and garbage and threw him out roughly. "Don't say I'm cruel, at least you won't starve to death if you eat the garbage here." After the little boy was thrown out, he stood up while holding his aching butt and said, "Uncle, thank you." Although the man didn't respond, the boy wasn't disappointed, he turned and limped towards the garbage. After searching hard, he finally found a few pieces of rotten vegetable leaves that were barely presentable. There was even a piece of unfinished bread. To him, this was already considered a very sumptuous breakfast. "Work hard, Haku. Tomorrow will be better. You'll be needed." Just then, a tempting fragrance came from behind him. The boy couldn't help but look back. A gentle uncle was holding several steaming buns in front of him. Haku couldn't believe his eyes. "Is this for me?" Aizen laughed softly. "Of course, eat quickly." But there's nothing I can do for you," Haku said timidly. "Then leave your future to me." This feeling. Is it because I'm needed? Just as Hakuai was feeling touched, a boy of his age with a red dot on each side of his forehead stepped out from behind the uncle. "You're so slow. Aizen-sama is giving you something to eat, so just take it." "Your Excellency is called Aizen?" Looking at the two of them, Bai nervously and excitedly stretched out his hands, as if they were not buns, but a ray of sunshine that he had been hoping for. While Bai Xiao was chewing the bun, Aizen suddenly straightened up and looked into the distance. He then touched the little boy's head and said, "I need to leave for a few minutes. Kimimaro, can you take care of him?" Kimimaro rubbed his hand like a puppy and said firmly, "Aizen-sama, I will protect him." As he spoke, he pulled out a knife made of bone from his shoulder and waved it a few times. Seeing Kimimaro's action, Byakugan, who was eating the bun, was shocked. "You have to protect yourself too." Aizen patted Kimimaro's head and turned to leave. "Hey!" Just when Kimimaro's face was red with happiness, Haku whispered behind him. "Thank you. I'm just following Sir Aizen's orders." Kimimaro proudly crossed his arms and then wondered, "You're so weak when you talk and eat, are you a girl?" "Of course I'm a boy," Haku said and then asked, "The ability you just used, is it a Kekkei Genkai?" "I'm from the Kagaya clan," Kimimaro proudly declared. He thought Haku was afraid and explained, "Aizen-sama said that Kekkei Genkai is not a demon's ability like Kirin claimed. In other parts of the world, Kekkei Genkai is an enviable talent." Haku nodded and then looked at him with longing eyes. "Can you teach me how to control the power of Kekkei Genkai?" "Of course." Kimimaro said, "You also have a Kekkei Genkai?" Haku nodded and blamed himself. "It's just that I can't control it well and easily hurt others." Kimimaro said, "Then show me." "Here." Haku hesitated. "What if I hurt you?" Kimimaro was dissatisfied. "Are you looking down on me?" Seeing Kimimaro's insistence, Haku had to whisper, "Then be careful." Haku tried to use the power in his body, and in the next moment, the entire garbage dump was covered with ice crystals. Fortunately, this was the corner of the street, and there was a garbage dump. No one usually came here, and no one noticed the movement here. "You're a good guy," Kimimaro said and suddenly felt embarrassed. "Are you from the Snow Clan?" Haku nodded. Kimimaro touched his nose. He knew that Haku's people rebelled under the leadership of the Kagaya clan, and then they were ruthlessly destroyed. Thinking of this, Kimimaro put his arm around Haku's shoulder. "In the future, your business is my business. We will strive to become the most powerful weapon in Aizen-sama's hands." Haku was uncomfortable with Kimimaro's excessive enthusiasm, but when he heard the latter, he gave up struggling and agreed, "I will work hard." On the sea. Yagura fell silent when he saw that the two of them were defeated before they even had the chance to reunite. Although he knew that the three of them together were useless, he still had the idea of teaming up to test some of Shimizu Garashi's strength. Although they've already tested some of his strength, how can they summarize it? A punch and a kick? Looking at Yagura, Shushi smiled and said, "Getting rid of two troublemakers in advance is my respect for you, the Mizukage." "I don't want this kind of respect." Yagura complained in his heart. "Fortunately, it's not my real body fighting him. Be careful, I'm going." As soon as his voice fell, Yagura felt a sharp gust of wind coming towards him like a knife. He didn't have time to print and could only rely on his physical instinct to dodge, but he still couldn't dodge and was hit by the fist. "My shoulder blade is broken." Yagura was expressionless. After all, the person controlling him couldn't feel pain. While he was flying in the air, Yagura quickly printed. In the next moment, several water clones jumped out of his body and blocked the attack, while his real body took the opportunity to draw a circle with the iron rod. However, the person who appeared from the circle wasn't Garashi, but Kakashi's clone. Yagura knew that he couldn't copy such a powerful physique. If he forcibly summoned the clone, it would just be an empty shell. But Kakashi is different. No one is more familiar with his own eyes than him, so the Kakashi clone may even retain a part of the Manjiki Sharingan's power. However, Kakashi's face was gloomy in the distance. "What's this? Let him see how he was beaten by his senpai." Chapter 386. Facing the clone Kakashi, Garashi didn't have any idea of mercy, and at the moment the clone moved, he punched his head. Seeing this scene, Kakashi only felt a chill on his back and subconsciously touched his head. Kakashi is really a waste. Yagura's heart slightly blackened, and then he mobilized the chakra all over his body. Water release, great explosion wave. With his strength, he could create a small lake even on a plane with the water escape technique. Above the sea, he could easily create monstrous waves that were almost on par with the superstorm that Shuei Mu had created with his immortal technique. And the direction of this wave was the location of Mizuki and the others. However, in the face of this terrible wave, several people looked calm, and they didn't even think of jumping into the sea to avoid it. With Garashi here, not to mention a huge wave, even if a meteorite fell, they wouldn't be afraid. "Really, I was going to use only taijutsu." Garashi sighed and pressed the seal on the water. Crack! The sea was instantly frozen, and the originally huge wave turned into a magnificent ice sculpture. Yagura was also frozen on the sea, and after several consecutive battles, he didn't have any extra chakra to break free. Sure enough, he is as powerful as a god. Empress Shomei sighed. The enemy that was invincible in the eyes of the resistance was defeated like this. It was not much more difficult than catching a chicken. Everyone behind her nodded in agreement. Their leader's decision was right. They only contributed a little in the early and late stages, and the result was once and for all. Garashi turned his head and looked in their direction. "He's yours. It's best to find the best genjutsu master in Kirin to remove the genjutsu for him." We will try our best." Everyone looked at each other and smiled awkwardly. There weren't many people who were proficient in genjutsu in the ninja world. Most of them were from the dojutsu family. Even Woodleaf's strongest genjutsu master was only at the level of Kurenai, not to mention Kirin. Their most powerful genjutsu master was only at the level of ordinary jonin. Sigh, where can I find an illusionist? While Kirin and the others were in a dilemma, Garashi walked straight towards Kakuzu Raiga. The two of them were currently tied up in a shameful position by a wooden dragon. The two of them still had some strength left and planned to escape while Garashi and Yagura were fighting. However, Garashi noticed them and threw a wooden dragon at them, and then they ended up like this. I wasn't cautious enough. Raiga sighed inwardly. After his first two successful escapes, he had made up his mind that he would not participate in anything related to Shimizu Garashi. But now, it seemed that he should expand his scope to include Shimizu Garashi's friends. Unlike Raiga's self-pity, Kakuzu only had one thought in his mind. Who will take away the money I put in the organization? Just as the two of them closed their eyes and waited for the trial, a gentle voice sounded. Can you wait a moment? I want to redeem them like last time. Hearing this voice, Kakuzu Raiga's heart rekindled with hope. Although they knew that Aizen was in Kirin, they didn't expect him to risk his life to save them. Thinking of this, both of them had the same thought. Aizen-senpai is really a good person. Looking towards the direction of the voice, Kirin and the others couldn't believe their eyes. Ao, what are you talking about? You thick-browed guy, when did you betray Kirin? Garashi squinted his eyes. Don't blame him, he was controlled by someone using genjutsu. Oh, so that's it. Kirin and the others suddenly understood and were even more shocked. Are you kidding? Ao has the Byakugan. Even Ao, who has dojutsu, was controlled by someone. How powerful is the person controlling him? Is this guy controlling Mizukage-sama? Looking at their indignant attitude, Ao shrugged. Don't misunderstand, I didn't control your Mizukage. Garashi asked in a deep voice. You are the masked man who saved Sasori from the Greyer ruins 3 years ago, right? Why, do you want to use other people's lives to exchange for theirs? Our lives? Everyone was terrified. Since when had their lives been controlled by the other party? Even Shimizu Garashi is afraid of him. What a terrible guy. Empress Shomiai also lost the joy of saving Kirin. Compared to the hidden terror outside, Kirin's internal threats were insignificant. Of course not, how can you use the same reason twice? Also. Qing Wei smiled and said, I can't control them without my main body present. Garashi said. Then what do you want? Ao smiled. They are just dispensable people to you. Even if you let them go, they won't be a threat. It's better to exchange them for some practical benefits, such as 1,000 stone of Greyer. Garashi was surprised. 1,000 stone of Greyer. So, you were the one who emptied the ruins 3 years ago. Ao didn't explain. What do you think? This is a very good deal. The stone of Greyer can heal internal injuries and repair the body, just like Hitaki Kakashi who abused his kaleidoscope. If he didn't have enough life energy to nourish his eyes, he would have gone blind soon. Hearing the other party mention him, Kakashi subconsciously touched his left eye, which was still in great pain. Will I go blind? This eye was a gift from the bordered soil. If it wasn't for Rin, he wouldn't have abused it like this. Garashi looked thoughtful. After a while, he said, I can exchange people, but it has to be 1,000 stone of Greyer each. Kakuzu and Raiga stared at him. Since the ruins incident 3 years ago, the magical effects of the stone of Greyer had been spread, and the price had been raised to a sky-high price. Although the price had fallen, they couldn't afford 1,000 stone of Greyer even if they sold themselves. No, take out the money from the bottom of the box. I should be able to afford it. Kakuzu thought. Raiga was in despair. He was weak and had no money. He would definitely be abandoned. However, Ao Zen sighed helplessly. You have a unique way of raising the price. But I'm not talented in bargaining. So be it. Raiga was touched by Ao Zen's voice. He looked at Ao Zen and said, Boss Ao Zen is generous. I'm yours from now on. The people around them were speechless. This was a sky-high price. Thinking of the 1,000 stone of Greyer, many people looked at Raiga and Kakuzu with greedy eyes. It was as if they weren't looking at cruel traders, but gold with money symbols above their heads. Empress Shomiai couldn't help but lick her sexy lips. Years of war had caused the village's finances to go bankrupt. If they could capture these two, wouldn't they have an endless supply of funds? Chapter 387. Why are these bastards looking at me with such terrifying gazes? Raiga felt a chill run down his spine when he was stared at by so many greedy gazes. Fortunately, I still have a reliable companion. Raiga turned his head and saw Kakuzu's green eyes that resembled those of a hungry wolf. He wants to sell me. Raiga felt his scalp tingle. What kind of teammates are these? They're far worse than Aizen. Raiga couldn't help but yell, "Don't look at me like that. Do you want Aizen-senpai to give you money?" "Don't worry, I just can't control my eyes." Having said that, Kakuzu thought, of course, I can't sell him directly to Aizen, but I can act as a middleman and sell him to other ninja villages. At this time, Empress Shomiai suddenly asked that. Before releasing him, can you return his thunder sword to Kirin? Although it was a bit difficult to ask, the Yakumo was taken away by Kisame, and the village's last ninja sword was gone. The 7 legendary swordsmen of the ninja sword were all gone. For the sake of the village, she could only ask. Hearing this, Garashi glanced at Aizen. Seeing that he didn't say anything, he looked at Raiga and asked, "Do you have any objections?" "I think." Raiga opened his mouth, but the wood dragon that bound him leaned over and kissed him. Raiga's body trembled, and he forced a smile. "I think this proposal is very good. As a former member of Kirin's team, I also hope to see Kirin become stronger again." Garashi nodded with satisfaction, and looked at Empress Shomiai and said, "I hope these 2 thunder swords can be used as a witness to Woodleaf and Kirin's reunion." Empress Shomiai smiled brightly, "Definitely." Kirin and the others laughed happily. After witnessing Shimizu Garashi's strength, they only had one thought in their minds. They must be harmonious, and anyone who dares to mess around will be beaten to death. Everyone was laughing, but Raiga was lamenting in his heart, "My swords, because they are dual swords." Now, his status in the group was reduced by 1 again. That's not right. I've always been at the bottom of this group. Even if I lose the thunder sword, my status won't drop. Thinking of this, Raiga found some consolation. Other than Leah, there was another sad person in Kirin village. Damn it. My 3 years of planning is gone just like that. Bordered Soil clenched his fists and growled in pain. Who's to blame? Wouldn't it have been fine if he had sealed it earlier when he already had a sure win? Black Zetsu didn't want to provoke him any further. It's just Kirin. There's no need to be so calculative. Besides, don't you have a capable assistant? Thinking of ghost mermaids and mermen, Bordered Soil was slightly comforted. That man was someone he thought highly of. He even did not hesitate to expose his identity and planned to rope him in. Seeing that the Bordered Soil had calmed down, Black Zetsu began to think about his concerns. How did Shimizu Garashi become stronger again? How could an ordinary human become stronger without limit? It doesn't make sense. Although he was afraid of Shimizu Garashi before, he was only worried that the other party would destroy his plan. He didn't worry much about the final result. As long as Madara is resurrected, with the Rinnegan and Hashirama's physique, defeating Shimizu Garashi shouldn't be too difficult. But now, Shimizu Garashi was so strong that even he couldn't understand him. In his opinion, human beings had limits. At most, they were like Hashirama. After Shimizu Garashi reached his limit early, it should be impossible for him to become stronger. But the fact is, the other party seemed to have no limit. Therefore, he felt a sense of crisis in his heart. If we continue to develop step by step and don't speed up, with Shimizu Garashi's speed of progress, when Madara is resurrected, he might be able to beat him to the ground. After a harmonious transaction, Aizen removed the genjutsu he cast on Blue, avoided the greedy eyes, and led Kakuzu and Hashirama to his main body. Looking at the 2 children, Kimimaro and Haku had some doubts. Are they also adopted by Aizen-sama? Seeing that Aizen had found the 2 children, Raiga and the other 2 were confused, but they didn't think too much about it. Instead, They thanked Aizen sincerely. Aizen-sama, thank you so much for this. I will definitely work hard to earn enough money to pay you back. Looking at Raiga and Hashirama, Aizen wanted to laugh. The main purpose of saving them was to give the Stone of Grayer to Yahiko. After all, in the eyes of Yahiko and Yahiko, the Stone of Grayer was his private property. It was fine if it was only a few, but if it was in large quantities, then it would be a problem. So, what are you two tools feeling so touched about? Aizen sighed secretly and said. It's just a stone, don't worry about it. It's fine as long as you're okay. Hearing Aizen's words, the two were moved. Of course, Raiga was moved because he saved his life, while Kakuzu was moved because of Aizen's wealth. After learning about Aizen's wealth, he knew he had to make friends with him. After thanking him, Raiga had some doubts. Is the Mizukage really being controlled? Is it F.A. who controlled him? Kakuzu said concisely. It's possible. Aizen laughed. Why don't we ask him in a meeting in a few days? Meeting? Raiga asked. Did the leader inform him? Not yet, but... Aizen said, I got news from Kyumo that Reikage is planning to hold a 5 Kages conference in response to our actions in those small countries. After the news spread, it's expected that the leader would hold a meeting. What? 5 Kages conference. Raiga and Kakuzu were shocked. What? 5 Kages conference. Asuma and the others were shocked. After the battle, everyone in Kirin invited Garashi and the others to visit Kirin. Because they had a lot to say to Garashi, and Kakashi needed to rest for a few days, everyone agreed. At this moment, they were all around Garashi, shocked by the big event he mentioned. Garashi nodded slightly. This is also the reason why I stayed in Kirin. After the Mizukage's matter is solved, I will officially inform them. If we don't count the armistice agreement after the war, this should be the first 5 Kages conference after the Shoiden-sama. Asuma said. I really want to see it. Shizen's expression was strange. You should think about who will replace Wood Leaf in the conference before you say something like that. Asuma's mind flashed with the image of an old man wrapped in bandages, and he suddenly felt lost. Well, I'm not looking forward to it at all. Chapter 388. By the way, Garashi, you said that the 5 Kages convention was held to deal with a secret organization. You haven't come back for 3 years, is it to track down this secret organization? Kurenai asked curiously. Not really. Shushi shook his head solemnly. What I'm investigating is another organization that's just as dangerous, or even more dangerous than them. Guy exclaimed, why is there a secret organization? I feel that the world has suddenly become strange. Shizen looked worried, this change is really worrying. At this time, Empress Shomiai came in, followed by more than a dozen Kirin. Garashi noticed that some of the jonins behind Empress Shomiai were originally supporters of the Mizukage. Is the Jinjutsu on the Mizukage lifted? Hearing Shuishi's question, the jonins were either emotional or grateful. It has been lifted. Sure enough, as Garashi-sama said, the Mizukage-sama is controlled by evil people. I said that the Mizukage-sama can't be so bad. The bastard behind the Mizukage-sama, he better pray that we don't catch him. Garashi asked again, what about the Mizukage-sama? I have something to tell him face to face. Everyone looked at each other, then sighed and shook their heads. Although the Mizukage-sama didn't do those evil things, he still feels very guilty. The Mizukage-sama said that people like him who have blood on their hands are not worthy of being the Mizukage. This time, Asuma and the others were shocked. Huh? Did the Mizukage resign? It's really big news that the Mizukage resigned in this peaceful time. Then who is the 5th Mizukage? Empress Shomiai took a deep breath and said solemnly, I will temporarily take the position of the 5th Mizukage. The 5th Mizukage? Several people were in disbelief. Although Empress Shomiai was strong, she was still too young to be a Kage. Shushi, on the other hand, behaved normally and congratulated with a smile, 5th Mizukage-sama, congratulations. Hearing Garashi's teasing, Empress Shomiai said helplessly. Don't you know how fake my Mizukage is? Garashi shook his head slightly. I only saw your efforts and sacrifices for Kirin. Guy agreed. That's right. Every effort should not be wasted. Hearing this, Empress Shomiai looked at Garashi gratefully. Thank you, Garashi. Kai's eyes widened as he waited for her to thank him. Then, he saw her smiling and talking to her senior about something else. Seeing this, Guy rubbed his shoulder against Asma and asked in a low voice, Why isn't anyone thanking me? Asma ignored him and said with emotion, If only our wood leaf could be a little crazier. Several people nodded in agreement. Although Danzo's behavior was perverse, it wasn't to the point of anger. If they want to replicate Kirin's achievements, they still need some time. Mizuki thought darkly, how can I make Danzo go crazy? Stimulate him? But what can I use to stimulate him? On the other side, Garashi relayed the invitation of the rakage. Empress Shomiai took a deep breath. I didn't expect that I would encounter such a big event as soon as I became the Mizukage. After saying that, she turned her head and looked behind her. How much do you know about that organization? A group of Kirin ninjas smiled awkwardly and shook their heads. I seem to have heard of it, but I didn't care. We didn't even solve the threat inside the village before, how can we pay attention to the outside world? Empress Shomiai said seriously, this 5 Kage conference is an opportunity to change the inherent impression of our village, so please collect as much information as possible about that organization, and let the ninja world see a new face of Kirin. Yes. Everyone nodded seriously. From the Third Shinobi World War to the present, Kirin has not left a good impression on the outside world, and it's time to change it. A few days later. Woodleaf, Naruto Building. Naruto, Sama, Shimizu Garashi has returned to the village. Ryuma asked with a dignified expression, should we hurry up and prepare? He's just returning to the village, there's nothing to worry about. Danzo said calmly. But the previous Byakugan incident caused many people to spread rumors about your inaction, and this time, countless villagers welcomed him. I'm worried, Kacha. Enough, no need to say any more. Before his voice fell, Danzo grabbed the armrest of the chair angrily, and said to himself with a gloomy expression, Shimizu Garashi, he always thought that time would change everything. The people in the village would forget Shimizu Garashi, and only know him as Naruto. But the fact is the opposite, not only the rich and powerful people don't pay attention to him, even the ordinary villagers don't take him seriously, all of them regard Shimizu Garashi as a savior. Thinking of this, Danzo angrily scolded, who do they think he is? He's just a loser, a stray dog who was forced by me for 3 years. Ryuma heard this and hurriedly asked, Naruto, Sama, are you going to attack Shimizu Garashi? I think we can use Naruto's righteousness. Ahem. Danzo glanced at him vaguely, am I the kind of villain who bullies others? Shimizu Shushi had just defeated the Mizukage in the mist. If the Mizukage wasn't satisfied, Shimizu Shushi would be defeated as well. Then, Shimizu Shushi would be labeled as someone who was controlled by Genjutsu. At that time, everyone will be cheering, and only he will be tied up in the hospital. Thinking of the 4th Mizukage, who was also mentally ill, Danzo felt sad for a while. Ryuma blinked and understood, so Naruto, Sama just wanted to say something, right? Seeing Ryuma's strange look, Danzo quickly changed the topic. What's really worth attention is the invitation sent by the rakage. Danzo gently tapped the document in his hand, and his eyes narrowed. The 5 Kages conference. This is a good opportunity for me to re-establish Naruto's prestige. Re-establish Naruto's prestige? Ryuma asked in surprise. What are you going to do? Don't they want to deal with the Akatsuki? Danzo chuckled a few times. Since you want to integrate the forces, there must be a leader. Even if the other villages agree to the alliance, it's unlikely that they will choose you as their leader, right? Ryuma said cautiously. Then let's use the ninja method to decide who will be the leader. Of course, as Kage, it's not suitable for us to fight, so let the people below decide the outcome. Ryuma's expression was strange. You want Shimizu Garashi to fight? Danzo smiled. In any case, he still has to obey my orders on the surface, and this is not for myself, but for the honor of Woodleaf. He has no reason to refuse, right? Chapter 389. In Konoha's park, a few children were playing happily. Fourth Mizukage, take my fire release, great fireball jutsu. A cool little boy made a few gestures and shouted. Oh, what a powerful fire. The yellow-haired boy screamed and suddenly reacted. No, Sasuke, Garashi-sama can't use fire release. The little boy called Sasuke turned his head disdainfully with his hands behind his back. What do you know? Garashi-sama can do anything. Really? Of course, my father and Garashi-sama are good friends. How can I lie to you? That's great, if my father. He suddenly became depressed. Seeing this, Sasuke curled his lips. Well, this time it's your turn to be Garashi-sama. Yay! The little boy cheered and instantly revived. Kyuubi Demon Fox, take my Rasengan. Sasuke's face darkened. Naruto, what's wrong with you? Can't you give me a normal character? That's right. The two little girls next to him cheered. Sasuke is so cute, how can he be a fox? Wait, Fox Sasuke is also cute, right? Saying this, the two little girls' eyes lit up. Sasuke, why don't you try wearing fox ears? That's right, we have to follow the rules of the game. Seeing the girls who instantly changed sides, Sasuke refused. Absolutely not. Besides, we don't have such items. As soon as his voice fell, Sasuke felt something fall on his head. Turning around, he saw his brother playing with some kind of equipment on his head. Seeing him turn around, his brother smiled and said, Sasuke, you're so cute. Brother, why are you? Before Sasuke had time to ask, he heard a shrill scream behind him. Wow! It's cat ears, Sasuke-kun. So cute. Sasuke's body stiffened. My head is cat ears? Brother, don't. Sasuke was ashamed, but suddenly he reacted. Wait, brother, why do you have cat ears with you? This time, it was Itachi's turn to be petrified. He laughed awkwardly. I still have a mission. Let's talk next time. With that, he used the body flicker technique and ran away. Brother, seriously. Sasuke turned around helplessly. And Sakura Ino, why are you two shouting so loudly? At this moment, a scream came from behind them. Ah! These are cat ears. Lady Hinata, please close your eyes and stay away from these perverts. Sasuke shouted with a black face. I'm not a pervert. Hinata blushed, they're with Naruto-kun, they shouldn't be bad people, right? Seeing that he was finally mentioned, Naruto was moved and waved his hand. Hinata, do you want to play the game of Garashi-sama fighting the bad guys together? Niji originally wanted to pull Hinata away, but when he heard the name of the game, he suddenly couldn't move. He wanted to play this game too. However, he was no longer a 3-year-old child. As a 4-year-old boy, he should be more mature. Hinata looked at him eagerly. Niji Eniai-san, can we play together? After a moment of silence, Niji said proudly. Okay, but this is for your sake. Great, now I'm Garashi-sama. Naruto pointed at Niji and shouted. Danzo, you old thief, take my Rasengan. This time, it was Niji's turn to be angry. In the evening, everyone went back to their homes. On the way home, Naruto's mind was still replaying the scene of Sakura Ino screaming. He couldn't help but ask in the space of consciousness. Kurama, are cat ears really that good? Are fox ears okay? However, a certain big orange in his space of consciousness just flapped its ears and didn't want to speak. Kurama, 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 enough, you're really annoying. Naruto smiled. I'm afraid you'll be bored. Kurama sneered. I didn't see you this enthusiastic when you treated me as a villain before. Naruto suddenly remembered that he made Sasuke Kyuubi before. Oh, so you're angry about this. Kurama hummed and didn't speak. Naruto put his palms together and sincerely apologized. I was wrong. Next time, I'll make you a positive fox. Kurama yawned. Forget it, I don't care about this. Naruto climbed up the pole. Then tell me, are fox ears better than cat ears? Kurama sneered. Do you think that kid is popular because of cat ears? The key is the face. With your silly look, it's useless to wear any ears. Oh, I'm not that kind of shallow person. Naruto wasn't depressed. He was smug. My inner self is much better than Sasuke. Kurama was speechless. What inner self can a 3-year-old kid like you have? Naruto blinked. Aren't you my inner self? Kurama was suddenly stuck. What else could it say? Could it say that it couldn't? Seeing that Kyubi didn't speak, Naruto shook his head and sighed. Kurama, I'm a child from an ordinary family. Why was I chosen to be your partner? Was it because I was born with Naruto's potential? Ordinary family? Kurama sneered in its heart, but it didn't say much. On the one hand, the events of that year were a bit complicated. On the other hand, for Naruto's growth, Shinakushina didn't tell Naruto about the previous generation. This made it so that in Naruto's eyes, his mother was just an ordinary housewife, and his father was just an ordinary intelligence officer. The only one who was truly special was himself. Jumping all the way back home, Naruto suddenly wrinkled his little nose and sniffed. No, something's wrong. Besides my mother, there's someone else here. Kurama rubbed its eyes. Isn't it just a guest? What's so surprising? Naruto's little face was serious. Of course, there's a problem. Listening to the voice, Mother Sama hasn't laughed so happily for a long time. Hearing Naruto's address of Shinakushina, Kurama's mouth twitched. Wait, you heard a voice, then what did you smell just now? Naruto said confidently. Don't those ninjas in the movies do this? Kurama let out a sigh, let me sense it. With that said, Kurama released its perception. As soon as it sensed, it was overjoyed. Oh. It's my long-lost mahjong friend. Naruto wondered. What mahjong friend? What are you talking about? It's the Garashi Sama you admire so much. What? How is that possible? How can my ordinary family let Garashi Sama come to our house as a guest? Just as Naruto was shouting in the space of consciousness, the door opened, and a gentle voice came out. You're Naruto, right? I haven't seen you for 3 years and you've grown so much. Hearing this voice, Naruto turned around and saw the big man he and the villagers welcomed this morning. Wow! It's really Garashi Sama. Chapter 390. Back in the room, Naruto followed Garashi closely and kept asking questions. Garashi Sama, what's your most powerful ability? Genjutsu, Taijutsu, or Kekkei Genkai? By the way, I heard that you beat up Naruto Sama before. Also, I heard that Garashi Sama is super popular with girls. Can you tell me a little trick? Shinakushina said with some jealousy, this little bastard and I aren't that close. Garashi couldn't help but laugh. Naruto, you're only 3 years old. Why are you thinking about being popular with girls? Naruto hugged his arms angrily. It's all because of Sasuke, he's a little cute. Garashi nodded slightly. He wasn't surprised that Naruto and Sasuke could mix together. After all, their mothers were good friends. A lot of girls want to play with him. As a result, our playing time is shortened. If I can attract those girls, no one will pester Sasuke. Garashi blinked. Naruto, your idea is very dangerous. Shinakushina didn't care much and asked, Garashi, how long are you going to rest this time? Garashi said, 3 or 4 days. Before coming back, I just found some traces of that organization. Shinakushina didn't dissuade him, but sighed, you have to be careful. No matter how strong you are, there will always be dangers in this world that can't be solved with strength. Shushi readily agreed. I got it. Naruto tiptoed, lying on the coffee table, and asked, why does Garashi-sama want to leave the village? Because this world isn't as peaceful as wood leaves. Kushina stroked Naruto's head and said, the reason why everyone can play so carefree like now is because of Garashi and your father, a nameless hero, silently guarding wood leaf. Naruto nodded innocently, and then said excitedly, when I grow up, it will be my turn to protect everyone. Several people were talking and laughing. Suddenly, a spatial fluctuation swayed, and someone appeared in a handsome posture. The person who appeared at this time with Flying Thunder God was naturally Minato. Seeing his father half kneeling on the ground with his right arm stretched out to the side, Naruto clapped wildly, so cool. Dad, do it again. Huh, I didn't ask. Minato smiled happily, and then saw Kushina and Garashi looking at him with strange eyes. He couldn't help blushing. I'm sorry, Naruto, I'll perform for you next time. Naruto was discouraged. Why is it the same as what Sasuke said about his brother, always next time? Seeing this familiar scene, Kurama couldn't restrain the power of the Juju jar in his body. Red chakra escaped from Naruto's body and turned into a tail swaying behind him, making him look like a brothel keeper. It's rare that everyone is here. Let's have a long-awaited battle. Minato smiled helplessly, let's postpone it for the time being. I came back this time because I have something important to tell Garashi. Kurama's tail fell in an instant, but it soon rose high again. We can talk while fighting. Next time, for sure. After sending Kurama away, Minato said seriously, Garashi, I finally found some information about that organization in the past 3 years. Garashi said with a dignified expression, the Akatsuki is indeed troublesome. Without waiting for him to finish, Minato hurriedly interrupted and asked, what Akatsuki? It was Garashi's turn to be puzzled. Isn't the organization you found Akatsuki? Is it Akatsuki? But it shouldn't be. Akatsuki was officially established recently, and there was no definite information before. Just when Garashi was secretly wondering, Minato said, it's an evil organization called Shell. Shell? Garashi guessed that Minato's current expression may be the same as Reiki's expression when he was fooled by him. Is Minato lying to me? Garashi's mind flashed this idea, but he quickly denied it. He knew Minato's character very well, and he knew that he would never lie to him. Then Minato must have been deceived, or, the matter of the Shell organization is true. In fact, there are various organizations in the ninja world. For example, the early Akatsuki was a small organization that was not valued. But for Minato to say it so seriously, this Shell organization is obviously not as simple as an ordinary organization. Thinking of this, Garashi said, Brother Minato, please explain the situation of this organization in detail. I don't know much, but even this has made me realize the danger of this organization. After a pause, Minato continued, I first became aware of this organization when I found that someone was taking in orphans from the war. Taking in orphans from the war? Kushina was surprised. This organization is quite kind. I thought so at first, until later, I found out that they were artificially creating tragedies. Minato's eyes were filled with anger. As long as they took a fancy to someone, even if their family was intact, they would gather people and kill them all. Then they would appear in front of those children and pretend to be kind enough to take them in. Scum. Beast. Even just listening to Minato's story, Kushina was angry. Garashi asked, if they were wantonly killing and taking in orphans, the ninja world shouldn't be so peaceful. They took me in selectively. Minato said, in advance, they tested the aptitude of those children in some way, and then they decided whether to kill them or not. So not many people were killed. Garashi slightly nodded, testing aptitude. Minato continued, naturally, I couldn't just watch them kill people. After discovering their evil deeds, I killed all these villains. Kushina waved her fist vigorously, good job, Minato. Minato smiled bitterly. At first, it was okay, but later, the people who came out were extremely powerful, and they had many means, even I was chased by them. What? Minato and you were chased? Garashi was surprised. That organization is so strong. Shina Kushina was a little worried. Are you hurt? Minato shook his head slightly. Don't worry, I have the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. It's not that easy to get hurt. Seeing his mother and Garashi-sama were so surprised, Naruto muttered secretly, isn't Dad just an ordinary intelligence officer? It's normal that he can't beat others, right? Although he saw his father use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, he didn't know how strong it was. In his opinion, the way his father appeared was not much different from Sasuke's brother using the body flicker jutsu today. Chapter 391. There were very few things that could affect Shushi's state of mind as much as today. You know, Minato in this timeline didn't commit suicide like in the original timeline, and he has a friend helping each other to improve. His strength is much stronger than in the original timeline. Looking at the entire ninja world, there may be a lot of people who can't defeat Minato, but there are only a few who can defeat him. Shell organization. Garashi whispered softly. A shell organization he's never heard of, but someone who can defeat Minato suddenly appeared. He can't help but pay attention to it. Seeing Garashi and Shina Kushina's solemn expression, Minato awkwardly explained. Maybe you misunderstood, the other party is very strong, but not to the point where I can't deal with them. The last time I was hit, it was mainly because of their strange method called scientific ninja tools. Scientific ninja tools? Shina Kushina was a little confused. She knows about science and ninja tools, but she doesn't understand these two words together. I'll show you. Minato took out a scroll from the tool bag on his waist, then summoned a flashlight and a shuttlecock from it. These are two of the scientific ninja tools they have, and they are the most precious spoils of my last operation. What's the use of these things? Shina Kushina said and wanted to pick up the shuttlecock. Be careful, don't touch it. Minato nervously stopped her. These weapons are very dangerous, especially this laser cannon. It can blow up a house. It's that powerful? Shina Kushina was shocked. The power of the laser cannon is not inferior to the general large-scale A-class ninjutsu, and it saves the printing time. Minato carefully placed the laser cannon, then picked up the flashlight and said, but this chakra sword, I can show you. After that, Minato pressed the button. One end of the flashlight emitted a light source, and the materialized chakra sword looked like a lightsaber. Wow. Good. Wow. Super cool. Before Shina Kushina finished cheering, she saw Naruto's eyes lit up. Seeing this, Shina Kushina muttered to herself, looks like I have to keep this thing properly too. The chakra didn't look that dangerous, but what if he accidentally held the weapon upside down? Once that button was pressed, wouldn't it pierce through him? It's because their weapons have so many abilities and they don't need to form seals that I was caught off guard. Minato sighed and looked to the side. Garashi, you. Seeing that Garashi was absent-minded, Minato asked in confusion, Garashi, what's wrong with you? Garashi came back to his senses and shook his head slightly. I'm fine. I was just surprised by the ability of that shell organization. Minato didn't think much about it and nodded. I was as shocked as you when I met them before. I didn't expect their technology to have developed to the point where they can combine with chakra. By the way, there's another thing that puzzles me. I can't find any trace of the people in this organization. It's like they suddenly appeared and then suddenly disappeared from this world. Garashi rubbed his chin and said. This is really a troublesome organization. Minato said solemnly. In short, Garashi, you must be careful of this organization when you inquire about information. They're very dangerous. Garashi nodded. I know. Minato-dage, you have to be careful too. After talking about the mysterious organization, Garashi said goodbye to them. Back in his home, he thought again. It can't be wrong. That scientific ninja tool gave me the same feeling as Sasori's puppet. To be precise, it's the same as the high-tech weapons copied from Shureichi. They're all powered by chakra. Coupled with the theory that Shureichi's weapons are psychic from another world, and Minato mentioned that the people in that organization don't belong to this world, it means that the shell organization is likely to have its own space, which is the so-called other world that Shureichi is psychic with. Thinking of this, Garashi was a little shocked. If my guess is true, it means that I'm not the only one who has eyes on the Akatsuki organization, but also this shell organization that is secretly observing them. But the problem is, since they have been watching Nagato for a long time, why didn't they exist in the memory of my previous life? Could it be that Shureichi's psychic ability is just a coincidence? However, Garashi quickly denied this guess. It's too much of a coincidence that they just happened to psychic the shell organization's space. Moreover, if it's really a coincidence, someone stealing from the space should be noticed very quickly. Ruling out this guess, the most likely thing is that they're not observing Nagato, but the meaning behind Nagato's Rinnegan. So they don't need to appear. They just need to observe secretly to see if Rinnegan has any connection with Rikudo. And the only person behind the shell organization who can make Rikudo an imaginary enemy is Otsutsuki. If this is the case, why Rikudo didn't fight in the future battle can be explained. Because he didn't dare to fight. Once he fought, it meant that he lost the upper hand, and losing the upper hand may mean losing the entire war. Therefore, Rikudo could only let the people he chose to fight. But thinking of this, Garashi felt strange again. In his memory, Otsutsuki should be a very arrogant person. He even looked down on Kagaya. There's no reason for him to test Rikudo, right? Garashi's eyes narrowed slightly. Is there another Otsutsuki hidden in the ninja world besides the one in my memory? Thinking of this, Garashi shook his head slightly. Information. There's still too little information that can help me make a judgment. My advantage lies in my grasp of the future, but as I change the world, this part of the advantage will only become smaller and smaller. And in terms of the secrets of the ninja world, I'm too far behind Rikudo. This is not conducive to my future plans. Right now, the shell organization is the best channel for me to get information in this regard, but I can't do it myself. Although he guessed that Nagato's Rinnegan can open the door to that space, there may be Otsutsuki in that space. Of course, he can't risk his life. Maybe, I can infiltrate the shell organization like the Akatsuki. Don't they want to collect excellent orphans? Let me give them a hand. Kimimaro, Haku. Garashi secretly thought, they are good candidates, but not now. I have to let them train by my side for a few years to cultivate enough trust and dependence so that I don't have to worry about them betraying me. In fact, he had even thought of a way to secretly contact her in the future. He would use the method of calling out to the gods in their dreams. As long as it doesn't involve chakra, even Otsutsuki can't see the flaws across the system. Chapter 392. A few days later, Akatsuki's online meeting. When the last light was illuminated, Yahiko said, "Now that everyone is here, the meeting will officially begin. First of all, the official members will join. Kirin's rebel ninja, Kisame, I have tested his ability. Next, he will temporarily join Raiga Kakuzu's group. As the leader, if he didn't participate in the action, there would be one more person in the two groups. The rest of the people didn't respond to Kisame's joining. After all, Kisame didn't have any particularly powerful deeds. The only noteworthy thing was that he killed the Watermelon Mountain Fugu with a sneak attack as a subordinate. As one of the Watermelon Mountain Fugu ninja swordsmen, he was equal to another member at the bottom of the organization. With such a conversion, they naturally wouldn't care. Of course, Raiga was an exception. This guy who killed Fugu with a sneak attack is not as powerful as me, right? Raiga was secretly happy. He could finally get rid of the status of being at the bottom of the group. I heard that you killed Fugu, you're quite capable. Raiga smiled a few times. However, my relationship with that guy is not very good. Don't worry about me bullying you. Yahiko's eyes were strange. They only tested a part of Kisame's strength, but this part was already stronger than Raiga, not to mention that Raiga had lost his weapon. Who was bullying who? Kisame smiled. Thank you, Raiga-senpai. When we officially meet, we will get closer. Raiga laughed heartily. Haha, of course, no problem. Kakuzu asked, I heard that you are the direct subordinate of the fourth Mizukage. Do you know who is controlling Kirin behind the scenes? Although he was asking Kisame, Kakuzu's eyes were looking at Hoodlum. Kakuzu almost named him. Bordered Soil's mouth twitched slightly under his mask. I did it. He wanted to hide his relationship with Kisame so that he could speak as a neutral and strengthen his right to speak in the Akatsuki. However, he had already exposed the matter of the Kyubi rebellion before, coupled with the hint from his senpai and Kakuzu's suspicion. There was no point in hiding it anymore. But this is also good. They all think that Ghost Mermaid joined the Akatsuki because of the identity of the fourth Mizukage. Now that my identity has been exposed, it is reasonable to say that Ghost Mermaid won't listen to my orders anymore. This exposed identity can actually hide the connection between me and Ghost Mermaid. Bordered Soil finally felt a little better after he became more proficient in using psychological warfare. Controlling the Mizukage? Why are you doing this? For the matter of Hoodlum controlling the Mizukage, Yahiko was not as disgusted as the previous Kyubi chaos. After all, the nine-tailed chaos was utter destruction, and the ones who were most seriously affected were the ordinary people. Hoodlum controlled the Mizukage to suppress the upper-class families. The lower-class civilians were affected because of the rebellion. Bordered Soil shrugged. I just want to share some of the pressure with the organization. If we could control the two-tailed beasts in advance, it would be much easier for us to carry out the plan. Yahiko frowned and asked, then why didn't you tell us? If there was help from the organization, the Sanbai would have been sealed long ago, and there wouldn't be such trouble later. Bordered Soil rolled his eyes and decisively threw the blame. Sigh, I was mainly considering Raiga's feelings. After all, this is his hometown. What if he is dissatisfied with the organization after knowing about this? Forget it, this matter is over. Yahiko directly ignored Raiga's reaction and continued, I received information that Reikage has noticed our actions in those small countries and plans to hold a 5 Kages conference to discuss ways to contain us. Bordered Soil sighed pretentiously. I told you, spreading the practice of chakra and ninjutsu will be noticed by these big countries sooner or later. What should we do now? The organization is going to be completely exposed. Ghost Mermaid, as a newcomer, suddenly said, compared to those ordinary people learning to refine chakra, the Mizukage being controlled is the real eye-catching big event, right? Well said. Bordered Soil secretly praised in his heart, creating the illusion that he and Ghost Mermaid were not on good terms. What do you know? Okay, now is not the time to find out who is responsible. Yahiko interrupted. I'm asking you how to deal with this. Of course, we'll hide our tracks and not be caught by them. Black Zetsu laughed. We can't attack their 5 Kages conference, right? Raiga sneered. Who would be stupid enough to attack the 5 Kages conference? That's not a fool. Before he finished speaking, Raiga felt a gaze full of malice locking onto him, making his body in the outside world shiver subconsciously. Following the line of sight, Raiga asked, Scorpion, why are you looking at me? Scorpion said coldly, sorry, I'm that fool. Raiga, Sigma, degree, Yahiko was puzzled. Attack the 5 Kages conference? Scorpion, what are you planning to do? Scorpion retracted his gaze and said calmly, first, we need to divert their attention. In the 3-tailed beast incident, if it was just capturing the 3-tailed beast, it might not be a big deal. However, Hoodlum controlled the 6-tailed Jinchuriki and exposed his connection with the 9-tailed beast. The 3-tailed beasts are enough to make them think of the tailed beasts. Although no one has linked Hoodlum to the organization yet, as long as someone brings it up, we will become very passive. So, before that happens, we need to use a more confusing target to divert their attention. But even if it's a diversion, there's no need to attack the 5 Kages conference, right? That's too dangerous. Conan said. Only when the movement is big enough and the impact is big enough can they believe the authenticity of this target. Scorpion explained. Raiga asked, you haven't said it yet. What target do you plan to use to divert their attention? Eternal life and resurrection. Only such taboo topics are attractive enough to match the style of our organization and not be suspected. Eternal life? Resurrection? Everyone had a strange look in their eyes. Would anyone believe such a thing? However, when they thought of Scorpion transforming himself into an eternal puppet life, they weren't surprised. When Scorpion mentioned resurrection, Bordered Soil's eyes fluctuated, but he quickly calmed down. Where did Scorpion hear about the Rinne Tensei Jutsu? Unfortunately, it's useless. Black Zetsu told him that the Rinne Tensei Jutsu can only resurrect people who have died in a short time, and Rin has been dead for too long. As for the resurrection of Uchiha Madara, according to Black Zetsu, it's because Madara is the owner of the Rinnegan, and a part of his soul is lodged in the Rinnegan. Not to mention a normal resurrection, it can even resurrect Madara's Edo Tensei. Chapter 393. It's really troublesome to talk so much in one breath. Sasori sighed secretly and continued, and the main purpose of the 5 Kages tournament is to capture Danzo alive in front of the 5 great shinobi villages, and then use him to exchange the Edo Tensei Jutsu with Konoha. After that, he added, the reason why we have to capture him at the 5 Kages tournament instead of attacking him on the way to the tournament is because Danzo's popularity is too bad. If we make a private deal, Wood Leaf will ask us to kill him. Hearing Sasori's explanation, everyone looked at him strangely. For such a strong reason, they really have no way to refute it. After all, everyone knows that Danzo is unpopular with the people. Edo Tensei Jutsu? Yahiko said, maybe you don't know, Sasori. The soul summoned by the Edo Tensei Jutsu can't exist forever. It's called resurrection, but in fact, it will be pulled back by the underworld after 10 days. Conan added, Naidame Naruto developed the Edo Tensei Jutsu, but because the war often lasts for several years, the Edo Tensei Jutsu can't play a decisive role, so he only used it at the most critical moment. I know. Sasori said calmly, the soul summoned by the Edo Tensei Jutsu can't exist for long, mainly because the sacrifice used as the soul container will die. So, I just need to use a sacrifice that won't die. A sacrifice that won't die? Raiga couldn't help but ask, what does that mean? In the Sanbai incident, Mr. Aizen used the Stone of Grayer to redeem the two of them. Sasori looked at Raiga and Kakuzu, then continued, presumably, you should have guessed who the biggest winner of the Grayer ruins 3 years ago was. Aizen. Kisame asked with a strange smile, boss? What kind of nickname is that? It's just because Mr. Aizen provided the Stone of Grayer for me to develop. Sasori said nonsense, it's because of these Stone of Grayer that I developed the method to give living puppets. As soon as his voice fell, everyone couldn't believe it. What? Living puppets? How did you do that? Sasori proudly turned his head, it's difficult for me to explain the technology to you. In short, if you don't believe me, I can show you the living puppet. No one doubted it, after all, they really don't understand technical things, and Sasori's puppet technique is the strongest in the shinobi world, maybe he can really achieve this step. Amidst this shock, Raiga's eyes flickered. If puppets can possess the characteristics of life, doesn't that mean that using living puppets as sacrifices can make up for the flaws of Edo Tensei? Sasori looked arrogant and disdainful, but he was actually looking at Aizen. He didn't want anyone to notice that his gaze was drifting. That's right. That's it. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone's mood became lively. As for the others, they were more concerned about the benefits of completing the Edo Tensei. After all, they weren't that obsessed with resurrection. Bordered Soil and Black Jew were shocked. Bordered Soil's eyes widened. Lin, he had thought about using the Edo Tensei to revive Lin, but Black Zetsu had told him that the Edo Tensei could only summon a soul back to the modern world for 10 days or so, and summoning too many times could damage the soul origin of the person being summoned, so he gave up on the idea. But now, this method seems to be feasible. Black Jew, danger. Someone wants to harm him. Ignoring everyone's surprise, Sasori continued. I don't deny that I have my own selfish reasons for planning Edo Tensei. I want to use this method to resurrect two people, so even if you don't do it, I will." Before he finished speaking, Bordered Soil raised his hand high. I'll participate. Black Jew lowered his head slightly to hide the fierceness in his eyes. Sure enough, it's starting. Yes, Zetsu will also participate. Black Jew's mouth twitched. As long as it's something related to Lin, Bordered Soil's low IQ will soon become worse. Sasori looked at the two of them and continued. In the past 3 years, I have created 4 ultimate puppets with strength no less than the Sandame Kazekage, and this time, I will invest all of them. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but look at him again. The attributes of the Sandame Kazekage were not worse than the original, but the control of chakra wasn't as flexible as fighting on its own, which made its overall strength weaker. Even so, the strength of the Sandame Kazekage can be said to be very strong. And now, Sasori said that he has 4 puppets with strength close to the Kage. This guy is so strong. He quietly created 4 powerful puppets. Raiga lamented in his heart. Is my status going to fall to the point where I can't even compare to the puppets? At this time, Kakuzu suddenly asked. Your plan sounds good, but there is a fatal flaw. How are you going to deal with the threat of Shimizu Garashi? Although he and Danzo don't get along well, it's unlikely that he will participate in the meeting as Danzo's personal guard, and it's unlikely that he will leave the Flying Thunder God Jutsu on Danzo, but with his ability, it's entirely possible that he will rush to the meeting in a short time after receiving the news. Hearing Kakuzu mention Shimizu Garashi, everyone was silent. If that man intervenes, not to mention 4 puppets with strength close to the Kage, even if the 4 Kages join forces, the outcome won't change much. At most, they'll be able to hold on for a while. About this, I discussed with Aizen-san in advance. Sasori glanced at Aizen, and seeing that he didn't say anything, he continued. He said that he can find someone to help me block Shimizu Garashi for a while. This news was like a bomb, blowing up everyone who had been lurking in the group. Block Shimizu Garashi? Are you sure this isn't suicide? Find someone to help? Is there such a strong person in the shinobi world? Seeing everyone looking at him, Aizen smiled and said, It's a friend I made before joining the organization. As for his strength, although he's not as strong as Shimizu Garashi, he should have no problem protecting himself. Hearing this, everyone's main body in the outside world subconsciously took a breath of cold air. Guaranteeing one's own life sounds weak, but it's completely different when it's Shimizu Garashi. With Shimizu Garashi's strength, anyone who can't be killed by him can be said to be strong. As for protecting himself, that's something that even the Kages of the 5 great villages can't do. Yahiko couldn't help but ask, is it possible to pull your friend into the organization? Aizen shook his head slightly. He has no interest in the disputes of the shinobi world, otherwise, he wouldn't have been unknown for so many years. That's a pity. Yahiko sighed. However, he could understand. If he wasn't a hermit like Uncle Aizen, they wouldn't have crossed paths. Chapter 394. While they were talking, Black Zetsu was secretly wondering, how come I don't know about someone who can stop that monster Shimizu Garashi? Is he an ancient person like Aizen who has been sleeping since ancient times? Bordered Soil completely ignored their reactions. He only had one thought in his mind, what can I use to trade for a living puppet with Sasori? This is Rin's body, so it must be of the highest level, but I don't have anything valuable. Hashirama's cells? Manjikyu's Sharingan? Should I just sell Black Zetsu to him? After rejecting Yahiko's invitation, Aizen continued, of course, my friend also said that he can help, but he needs something in exchange. That's the right thing to do. Yahiko nodded understandingly. What does he want? It's nothing difficult, he just needs a part of the cells of a Kekkei Genkai user. Aizen said with a smile, my friend is more interested in the research of Kekkei Genkai, but he's only one person, so it's a bit troublesome to collect. It's indeed not difficult. Yahiko nodded. Although most of the Kekkei Genkai users in the major villages aren't weak, they can't be compared to them. Moreover, it's not like they're killing people, they just need a part of the cells. Being able to exchange such a condition for a super strong person to help them is a very cost-effective deal. Sasori secretly sighed, as expected of Aizen, Sama, it's obviously our business, but he's not only transferring the risk to the Akatsuki, he also wants us to help him collect Kekei Genkai. Compared to Aizen, Sama, Yahiko is still too naive. At this time, Nagato suddenly said, I'll go too, let my clone assist them. What? Yahiko was surprised, but you're Rinnegan? Nagato shook his head slightly, whether it's in those small countries or the upcoming 5 Kages convention, our organization is destined to attract a lot of attention. Since we can't keep a low profile anymore, it's not a bad choice to show some of our fangs. Moreover, I also want to know the gap between myself and Garashi. Only by recognizing yourself will you not make the wrong judgment at the critical moment. Seeing Nagato's insistence, Yahiko did not try to persuade him any further. Then be careful. Kakuzu licked the corner of his mouth, the battle between Rinnegan and the god of ninja? How interesting. Raiga could not help but ask, are you planning to fight alongside Nagato? He had just been defeated by Shimizu Garashi. Did he think that he could do it again so quickly? Kakuzu's eyes lit up. I'm looking for a business opportunity. If I can film their battle, then I can sell it for a lot of money. Raiga was speechless. You really value money more than your life. The battle between Nagato and Shimizu Garashi was so good, Nagato interrupted their conversation. Don't call me Nagato outside. Call me Pain. You don't want others to know your true identity? Raiga shrugged. Well, I know, Pain. Nagato nodded slightly. Although Jiraiya, sensei knew that he had the Rinnegan, if all 6 bodies had the Rinnegan, Jiraiya, sensei would probably be confused too. When everyone's images left, Konan frowned and asked, Nagato, do you really plan to let the 6 paths of pain fight? I remember you said that the 6 paths of pain can't be too far away from your body. What if? Don't worry, that's already in the past. Nagato said confidently, since I don't have to worry about the loss of my life potential, I've studied the Rinnegan a lot. Now I can control the 6 paths of pain from a very long distance. That's good. Konan breathed a sigh of relief and then warned, even if the Stone of Grayer can replenish your life force, you have to pay attention to it. Don't overuse the power of the Rinnegan. Seeing Konan so serious, Nagato restrained his relaxed look. I know, I will pay attention in the future. Grass country, underground grotto. Bordered Soil opened his eyes and touched his chest with his right hand. He could feel that his heart, which had been frozen since Rin's death, seemed to be beating again. Seeing him like this, Black Zetsu poured cold water on him. Wake up, the Edo Tensei may not be as good as you think. Bordered Soil calmed down and asked, is the method that Sasori said not feasible? If Sasori didn't lie, then theoretically, the soul recalled by the Edo Tensei can stay in the world forever. Isn't that good? Black Zetsu asked coldly, but have you ever considered Rin's feelings? Do you think she's willing to be resurrected as a puppet? Bordered Soil's eyes were in a trance. I don't know. Black Zetsu continued, Rin is different from you. She didn't abandon her human feelings. If she becomes a puppet, how do you think she will face the previous fetters? Do you think she will be happy? And the most important point, think about what kind of person Rin is in your memory. Pure, kind, gentle, can such a Rin accept everything you do for her? If you let her know that you assassinated your master and destroyed Wood Leaf for her, do you think she will be happy? For her, this may be worse than death. Bordered Soil felt that Black Zetsu's words were like a sharp steel knife, cutting open his chest and stabbing his heart. Bordered Soil's lips trembled. I don't know. Black Zetsu continued, the only way is to completely change everything and create a world with Rin. In that world, Rin will not die, and you will still be a carefree last place. All the regrets and pain will be illusory. Bordered Soil clenched his fists, his eyes struggling. Large beads of sweat oozed out of his forehead. Seeing this, Black Zetsu was secretly proud. A tool should have the consciousness of a tool. Don't think too much. However, Bordered Soil was silent for a long time before letting out a sigh of relief. His eyes returned to calmness. I know Rin may hate me, but no matter what, I want to hear the answer from her mouth. If she doesn't want to be resurrected as a puppet, I will follow her wishes and send her back to the underworld. Looking at Bordered Soil's calm eyes, Black Zetsu secretly complained. Why is this bastard Bordered Soil suddenly so determined? If Rin is resurrected, I won't be able to control him. Moreover, no matter how many thoughts I have instilled in him, as long as Rin says the word, this guy will most likely betray me on the spot. I have to think of a way. Black Zetsu's eyes were gloomy, but his mouth said, well, I really can't do anything about you. If you are hated, don't kill yourself. Bordered Soil said gratefully, thank you, Black Zetsu. Chapter 395. A few days later, in a mountain forest in the Land of Iron. In front of us is the venue provided by the Land of Iron. Looking at the tall castle in front of them and the patrolling samurai wearing heavy armor, Ryoma said in a deep voice. 5 Kage's tournament. Danzo sighed, recalling the event he saw when he was a child. His eyes were slightly gloomy. If Shimizu Garashi can be used by me, the 5 Kage's tournament won't need to be held in a neutral country, and Woodleaf can continue to host the 5 Kage's tournament. Ryoma echoed, such a person can be regarded as a hero, it's really a bad time. Danzo looked to the side with expectation. You and Shimizu Garashi have the talent of God, the future of Woodleaf depends on you. I will work hard. Said without confidence, his heart was bitter. 3 years ago, during the Kyubi's rebellion, he, like others, also witnessed how powerful Garashi's wood release was, and his heart was full of fantasies and expectations for it. But the fact is, no matter how hard he works, he can't reach that height. The gap between the two is even more exaggerated than the gap between the Ichibi and the Kyubi. The patrolling samurai around the venue found Danzo and his party and hurried over. Excuse me, are you Naruto of Woodleaf? It's me, Danzo of the 5th village. Welcome, please come with me. Thank you. Under the guidance of the samurai, Danzo and his party walked to the central area. In addition to Ryoma and armor as his personal guards, he also brought a total of 20 jonin. Have the people from other villages arrived? Danzo asked as he walked. Rock Crypsicist Tsuchikage and Yunin's Rakage have arrived, the other 2 are still on the way. The leading samurai replied. Danzo wasn't surprised by this answer. Among the 5 major countries, the Land of Wind and the Land of Water were farther away from the Land of Iron. Except for Inoki, I don't see many familiar faces. At the same time, on a small hill near the venue. That guy is Danzo? Sasori glanced at him and then retracted his gaze. Why do I feel that he looks more like a bad guy than we do? Kakuza bluntly commented, if it weren't for his identity as Naruto, this guy would be worthless. Bordered Soil crossed his arms. This old man looks like he's half dead. You have to be gentle when you hit him. Don't accidentally kill him. Okay, shut up. Pain's eyes were calm. He looked at Sasori and asked, has the person Uncle Aizen contacted arrived? We're here. Scorpion nodded, however, he said that his mission is only to stop Shimizu Garashi. As for the 5 Shadows competition, he won't participate. That's enough. Next. Pain took a deep breath and said coldly, let's wait for the conference to begin. Although it was a long journey, the Kirin Sand Crypsis had made preparations in advance and finally arrived at the Land of Iron that night. After a night's rest, the next morning. In the center of the venue, the 5 Kage and the guards entered one after another. Samurai and the rest of the jonin stood guard outside. Danzo was the 4th to enter the venue. When he entered, the original chatter in the venue suddenly quieted down, and a playful gaze was cast towards him from all around. Obviously, they were very curious about Naruto, who suppressed Shimizu Garashi and was the weakest in the history of Woodleaf. However, their interest quickly turned into surprise. Why do they feel that this Naruto-sama's forehead is a little dark? Didn't he wash his face in the morning? Looking at these surprised eyes, Danzo coldly snorted, "It seems that the Kage don't know what etiquette is." I said with contempt, "We Yunin never play with these empty words." Raza clenched his hands and put his elbows on the table. Sometimes being too polite isn't a good thing. Some people are too polite, so they let Naruto-sama sit in this position. Danzo's face was very ugly. Sand Cripsus has always been regarded as Woodleaf's younger brother, but this bastard Kazekage not only disrespected him but also dared to mock him. It's really hateful. Sharp-tongued brat, when this old man was in the ninja world, you were still drinking milk. Raza wasn't angry and smiled slightly. In terms of age, I'm a junior, but in terms of the position of Kage, I'm your senior, Naruto-sama. Danzo's eyes were cold. You, seniors, please calm down. Let me, a newcomer, say a few words of fairness. Empress Shomiai smiled sweetly. Naruto-sama is a senior, after all, we'd better be modest. After all, we may not have the chance to listen to seniors' teachings next time. Danzo listened at first, but after listening more and more, he felt that something was wrong. Was this woman cursing him to die early? Or was she cursing him to step down early? Thinking of this, Danzo's face was ugly. Humph, are you planning to join forces against Woodleaf again? I sneered, don't put a hat on us. You're the one making a fuss. Looking at you is like losing a piece of meat. You. Just when the atmosphere became tense, a voice came from outside the door. Young people nowadays, are they so angry? Everyone turned their heads and saw Inoki floating in the air with his hands behind his back. However, the most conspicuous thing was the prosthesis on his left leg. Hearing Inoki's words, Danzo's face was a little bit better. Young people nowadays are really getting more and more outrageous. Inoki raised the corner of his mouth, including you. Danzo was stunned, as if he didn't hear clearly. What? Inoki laughed, I'm 6 years older than you, so I'm 10 years older than you. It's not too much to call you a young man. Danzo's face turned red, and white smoke came out of his nostrils. Inoki, you, he hated in his heart. Why is everyone targeting him today? Well, I'm not talking about you. Inoki flew to his seat and looked around at everyone. If the theme of this 5 Kage conference is quarreling, then I'll go back now. I don't want to lose face with you. At this time, Mifune, who came in with Inoki, stood in the host's position and said, I agree with Tsuchikage-sama's opinion. The 5 Kage conference is to solve problems, not to create problems. For the peace of the shinobi world, please understand and tolerate each other. Seeing Mifune speaking like this, Ai slammed the table. Well, since the 5 Kage are all here, then don't talk about anything unrelated to the conference. Several people looked at each other and didn't speak, which meant that they agreed with Reikage's statement. Seeing that no one objected, Ai continued, I announce the official start of the 5 Kage conference. The main content of this conference is to discuss how to deal with the threat of the Akatsuki. I have sent you the general situation of this organization in advance. If you have any information to add, you can ask now. Chapter 396. Let me say something about the Akatsuki. Empress Shomiai said, Kirin betrayed Raiga, and Takajin betrayed Kakuzu. They are suspected to be members of that organization. A frowned and asked. Suspected? Empress Shomiai explained, the two of them were organized and premeditated. After they failed and were captured, someone was willing to pay a high price to redeem them. It can be seen that they both belong to the same organization. And there are only so many powerful people in the shinobi world. It's impossible for two powerful mysterious organizations to suddenly appear, right? I remembered the Akatsuki organization that Shimizu Garashi told him about, but he didn't say much. What about you? Do you have anything to add? I have nothing to add, but I have a question that I want to ask. Inoki said and looked at Empress Shomiai. Mizukage-sama, is the 4th Mizukage really being controlled? As his voice fell, not only the people in the venue, but even the guards outside quietly pricked up their ears. Obviously, everyone was curious about this issue. Yes. Empress Shomi, I said firmly, if you don't believe me, you can ask Yondim Sama yourself. After he retired, he did tasks in the village to atone for his crimes. I don't believe you, but I'm a little curious. Is the person who secretly controlled the fourth Mizukage also from the Akatsuki? Anoki sighed secretly. He was really old. If it was in the past, whether it was true or not, he would splash dirty water on Shimizu Garashi and Empress Shomiai, saying that they secretly colluded to control the election of the village Kage. I don't know, Yondim Sama said that he has no memory of the person behind the scenes. Empress Shomiai shook her head slightly, and immediately pondered, however, the person behind the scenes and Kakuzu Raiga shouldn't be the same group. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fought at that time. Instead, it gave us a chance. While they were discussing, Danzo thought to himself. Could it be him? The masked man who informed me of the possible nine-tailed rebellion in advance? It was precisely because of his foresight that Men Yen and Kochin chose him at the last moment. They believed that his steady ability could lead Woodleaf to a stable development. That guy attacked Minato, and he may be secretly controlling the Mizukage. I have to be careful. At the same time, on a small hill near the venue. Remember, our target is Shimura Danzo. Pain warned, don't hesitate after entering the arena. Try to catch him in the shortest time possible. Scorpion frowned. Don't we need to explain the organization's goal to them? The matter of confusing them can wait until we capture Danzo. Pain said coldly, in short, I will first use Shinra Tensei to separate them, let them think that our target is everyone, and then concentrate all firepower on Danzo, understand? Scorpion nodded. Understood. Hoodlum laughed. Pain, your avatar is a little long-winded. Pain looked at him coldly. Let's go. In the venue, the discussion was still going on. Concluded, although there is no definite conclusion, it can be seen from the existing intelligence that the Akatsuki is an extremely dangerous and powerful organization. Their actions in those small countries are definitely not as simple as they claim to be. For example, to re-establish the order of the shinobi world. Raza asked. Do you suspect that they spread ninjutsu to fight against us? A's expression was dignified. Their top-level strength may not be weaker than any other shinobi village, and even surpass it. Their only weakness is their basic and mid-level strength. The spreading of chakra seeds can help them make up for this. Everyone frowned. The Ninja Academy is more for the purpose of selecting talents, so they spend more time on the basics. Of course, the results of this are also very significant. Every graduating student can produce 2 or 3 jonins, which is the cornerstone of the operation of the 5 great shinobi villages. But if you don't consider the elite mode, 2 or 3 years is enough for ordinary people with certain qualifications to grow into genin. With the population base of the shinobi world, even if this proportion is not high, it is enough to give birth to a huge force that can move the major shinobi villages. Thinking of this, Anoki knocked on the table and said, no matter what their purpose is, we must not let them continue to be so unscrupulous. A asked. Tsuchikage, what do you want to do? Anoki said, we also join the ranks of spreading chakra. Compared with that organization, as the authority of the shinobi world, we are undoubtedly more likely to be trusted by ordinary people. Danzo nodded slightly, I think this proposal is good, but to make those ordinary people trust us, a temporary alliance. At this moment, the warning of many guards and someone's indifferent voice suddenly sounded from outside. Who are you? Stop. If you go forward, don't blame us for being rude. Shinra Tensei. As soon as the voice fell, the venue was torn apart by a powerful repulsion force. Caught off guard, the 5 Kages and their personal guards were also sent flying. But after all, they are strong and experienced, even if they encountered this kind of attack that they have never encountered before, they still stabilized their bodies in a very short time. Mizukage-sama, be careful. Mizukage-sama, be careful of the assassin. Ryoma and Kuma rushed to Danzo's side to guard him, but Danzo himself was flying forward uncontrollably. It was repulsion just now, and now it's gravity? Danzo was shocked as he had never heard of such an escape technique. However, that did not stop him from making a judgment. Summoning Jutsu, Nightmare Taper. Danzo summoned his psychic beast at an extremely fast speed and then stopped when it hit the Nightmare Taper. Obviously, the normal power of 10,000 Mammoth Tensei was not enough to move the Nightmare Taper's huge body. Just when Danzo was slightly relieved, several powerful auras around him rushed toward him at the same time. No, the gravity is not a random target. Their target is me. Danzo was shocked and angry, feeling like the whole world was targeting him today. Then, anger rose from within him. A bunch of dirty rats, don't think that I'm afraid of you. Futon, vacuum. However, just when he was performing the hand seals as fast as he could, he suddenly felt an unbearable itch on his buttocks, and he wanted to scratch it. Damn it. What the hell is going on? No, hold it in. The few of them who were rushing toward Danzo were confused. Why did Danzo, who looked ferocious just now, suddenly scrunch up his face as if he was going through some kind of extreme pain? Hold it in, I can't hold it in anymore. Although Danzo tried his best to hold it in, he was still a beat slower when he was performing the last hand seal. Then, the wind that had formed at his throat suddenly went out of control, and white air gushed out of his face. Some of the air gushed out of his buttocks, and blood splattered everywhere. Uzumaki Shinichi, who was living in the living puppet, was stunned when he saw the man opposite him flying toward him. Have the ninjas of this era developed their ninjutsu to a forbidden level? That's terrifying. Seeing that Danzo had knocked himself out with a single jutsu and even caused blood to splatter all over his pants, the other 4 Kages were confused. Was that a trick? Even Kirito, who was hiding in the dark and attacked Danzo when he left the house, was secretly shocked. The power of this jutsu seems to be terrifying. Chapter 397. Looking at Danzo flying towards him, Shinichi froze for a moment, but he quickly recovered his ninjutsu and caught Danzo. He also knew that a living Danzo is a good Danzo. However, looking at the man hanging on Shinichi's body with a trace of bright red blood on his pants, everyone was silent. Even the Akatsuki members stopped attacking, as if they suddenly lost the desire to fight. The way Danzo fainted was too challenging to their nerves, making a very serious battle become funny. Did we succeed? Sasori asked with a speechless expression. Maybe? Pain said with uncertainty. Success came too easily, making him feel unreal. After all, Danzo is the dark shinobi of the shinobi world for decades. He shouldn't be defeated so easily. Kakuzu excitedly pressed the shutter of the camera in his hand, thinking that this photo must be very valuable. He even thought of the title, shocking, How 50 Years Old Man Got Blood on His Buttocks, Would Leaf Naruto Became Famous. On the other side, Ryuma's eyes almost popped out. He couldn't wait to be the one who vomited blood behind him. Not only the safety of Danzo, but also his reputation. Although Danzo's reputation wasn't very good, but he used a wind release to knock him out, and even caused his buttocks to bleed, this kind of thing really challenged people's worldview. Even those who originally supported Danzo may have to seriously reconsider after this incident. Is a person who can use ninjutsu to make himself bleed really suitable to be Hokage? Thinking of this, Ryuma quickly used his ability to shift the blame, grabbed the collar of Mifune next to him, and shouted, "What did you give Naruto-sama this morning? Did you poison him? It shouldn't be." Having said that, Mifune's voice was very weak. Because even he himself doubted whether it was his subordinates who gave Danzo a laxative. Otherwise, there's no reason for a powerhouse like Danzo to make such a ridiculous mistake. At this time, Sasori said to everyone, "Would Leaf's people listen to me? If you want to redeem Naruto, use Edo Tensei in exchange." Edo Tensei? I recovered from the shock brought by Danzo's self-mutilation. You are the Akatsuki, right? What are you trying to achieve by using that forbidden technique? Eternal life, and resurrection. Sasori said calmly, "The reason we seek the Edo Tensei is to break the taboo between life and death." Inoki asked seriously, what does this have to do with you spreading the seeds of chakra everywhere? Pain stepped forward and said, in order to gain wisdom, in order to have more like-minded partners join us. Inoki stopped talking, thinking about the possibility of the other party's statement. At this time, everyone's attention finally returned to Pain. Looking at Pain, Raza asked in surprise, your eyes, are they the legendary Rinnegan? The rest of the people also reacted and looked at Pain and the 4 people behind him. Wait, the 4 people behind him also have Rinnegan. How is this possible? These eyes that only exist in legends actually appeared 5 pairs at once. Could it be that he put on cosmetic contact lenses for himself? Pain didn't intend to answer their questions, but asked indifferently, you've asked what you want to ask, can you go now? In fact, if it wasn't to mislead them and make them not think of the bijou, he didn't want to talk so much with them at all. Don't say such stupid things. AI clenched his fist, and lightning flashed in his palm. I don't care if you have Rinnegan or not, but you dare to attack the 5 Kages tournament, this is simply not putting us in your eyes. If we let you leave safely, where will the face of our 5 great shinobi villages be? Pain frowned slightly, don't you want Naruto's life? Raza laughed, in order to catch Naruto, you didn't hesitate to attack the 5 Kages tournament. Such an important hostage, you shouldn't let him die easily, right? Empress Shomiai also laughed, besides, what does the life and death of Naruto-sama have to do with me, the Mizukage? Ryuma glared at Empress Shomiai, this woman is really Shimizu Garashi's puppet. She wants Danzo-sama to die, too vicious. Since you want to die, then I will fulfill your wish. Pain's eyes were indifferent, Kakuzu, you take him back first. Take him back? Kakuzu was a little reluctant, it's not easy to be a war correspondent, and he wants to take more valuable photos. Obito chuckled, if you take Danzo back, won't you be able to unlock all kinds of photos? Kakuzu's eyes lit up, and he glanced at Danzo's buttocks with greedy eyes, then stepped forward and lifted him up. Ryuma shouted, put down Naruto-sama. Although he didn't like Danzo, he couldn't just watch Danzo being picked up, so he turned into a lightning and rushed up, put down Naruto. However, Pain just gently raised his hand, this road is blocked. A powerful repulsive force was released from his palm, and it was like hitting a spring, bouncing back fiercely. Is this the ability of the Rinnegan? A was surprised, but he didn't have the slightest fear. Except for the monster Shimizu Garashi, he is confident that he won't lose to anyone. Under the pressure of that man, I never dare to relax for a moment. A roared, and his whole body flashed with lightning, and the substantialized chakra formed a blue flame around his body. Next, I'll let you see the results of my 3 years of practice. Super Lightning Release Mode, Open. In the face of Raikage's eruption, Pain calmly raised his hand, Shinra Tensei. A powerful repulsive force was once again released from his palm. However, after pausing for a moment, A charged forward at an even faster speed than before. What? Seeing Raikage rushing up against the repulsive force, Pain was shocked. It was too late to dodge, and he was directly hit by Raikage's violent and overbearing punch. His head was distorted, and he was about to die. Seeing that Raikage successfully killed the suspected leader of the enemy, the morale of the 5 ninja villages was low because of Danzo's capture was high again. As expected of Raikage-sama, he's too powerful. What trash Rinnegan? Wasn't it blown up by Raikage-sama's punch? However, some of them found that although the Akatsuki members were surprised by Raikage's strength, they didn't feel the slightest sadness about the death of their companion, and they were still pointing and commenting. This guy is really strong. He's worthy of being the man who once fought against Shimizu Garashi. Sure enough, this is the real Kage. Danzo can only be regarded as an accidental product. Chapter 398. You bastards are really cold, you didn't even react to the death of your companions. A looked at the people opposite him and sneered. Did you forget what we just said so quickly? It's the sentence that pointed out the purpose of the organization. Bordered Soil said with a smile, not forgetting to divert his attention at this time. Eternal life and resurrection? A's pupils shrank. You mean he? No, this kind of thing is absolutely impossible. At this time, a voice came from a distance. What do you mean by impossible? Are you talking about my resurrection? In the blink of an eye, Pain appeared in front of everyone again. Seeing the sudden appearance of Pain number 2, A subconsciously looked at Pain number 1, who he killed, and saw that the previous Pain number 1 was still lying on the ground. Shadow clone? No, it was definitely him who was killed by me just now. Damn it, do they really have the ability to resurrect? Not only him, but the people of the 5 great ninja villages were also shocked. Rinnegan, reincarnation. Is this the mystery of the legendary dojutsu? Are you kidding me? Do you want us to fight this kind of enemy who can resurrect infinitely? Inoki suddenly said, calm down, don't let the enemy see us as a joke. Since they are still seeking the Edo Tensei, it means that this resurrection ability is definitely flawed. Hearing Inoki's voice, everyone barely calmed down. Indeed, there can't be a perfect and flawless technique in this world. My resurrection is indeed flawed, but it may not mean much to you. Pain raised his right hand again, and at the same time attacked their psychological defenses with words. Because, I can't resurrect people who have been dead for a long time like the Edo Tensei, but if it's within a battle, my resurrection ability is infinite. Shinra Tensei. Taking advantage of everyone's shock, Pain ejected a powerful repulsive force, and then said indifferently, don't entangle with them, we can retreat after we catch Danzo. Although he was ready to fight Shimizu Garashi, if he could avoid it, he would never foolishly stay here and meet the other party. After all, he had only relied on luck to obtain the eyes of God, while Shimizu Garashi had earned the title of God with his own strength. After being sent flying, Raza quickly steadied himself. A glint flashed in his eyes. Don't be fooled by his words. If he really has no limit like he claimed, why would he run? It's obvious that he has something he's afraid of. Empress Shomiai also reacted. That's right, they're definitely afraid of Garashi. Chase after them and don't let them escape. Upon hearing Garashi's name, the morale that had been rising and falling finally exploded. That's right, we have Lord Garashi here. The days of being enemies with that man are indeed scary, but as a teammate, it's incomparably reassuring. Not only Wood Leaf, but even the other 4 ninja villages were excited. Seeing this scene, Inoki couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Why did I spend so much effort to explain? It turns out that just mentioning Shimizu Garashi's name is enough. A also secretly sighed in his heart. Even this guy who has Rinnegan and can resurrect constantly is not willing to fight with Shimizu Garashi. In addition to being excited, everyone swarmed up. Because of the unexpected situation before, specifically stated in the invitation that in addition to the guards, they can also bring 20 accompanying ninjas in case someone attacks them midway. Therefore, even if the 5 Kages and the guards are not counted, there are 100 ninjas present, plus the samurai of the Land of Iron. It can be said that they have gathered enough power to shake the ninja world. Various 5 elements released jutsu and even Kekkei Genkai ninjutsu were mixed together, converging into a torrent of chakra, rolling down in a mighty manner. In the face of this powerful attack, Gakido took 2 steps forward and opened his arms to embrace it in the eyes of everyone. Like a whirlpool, this mighty chakra torrent was completely absorbed. However, he also seemed to have eaten too much, his whole body was bloated and swollen, and he could hardly move. Seeing this, Pain directly threw out a black nail and killed Gakido, intending to refresh his status through resurrection. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes twitched wildly. Even if he can be resurrected, this method of killing his companions is too skillful. Is it similar to the ability of nether release to absorb chakra? But his absorption limit is much higher than ordinary nether release. Taking advantage of the gap between the 5 ninja villages, Chikashoto instantly summoned a large group of summoned beasts, such as Hell Crab, Splitting Hound, Yatsuki, and so on. These huge and numerous summoned beasts shocked everyone. How can a person contract so many different species of summoned beasts? Compared with the huge size of these summoned beasts, the others were very inconspicuous, but the degree of strangeness was still above Chikishoto. Shirato and Uzumaki directly pulled out their right wrists and launched a large number of rockets from it. Although Raza has never seen this kind of weapon, he instinctively perceived the danger and hurriedly pulled a huge wave of gold dust between the two sides. The rockets fired by the 5 people at the same time hit the sand wall, and the sand wall was blown up in an instant. The scattered gold dust became like bullets under the acceleration of the air wave, shooting toward the Allied forces. Fortunately, Inoki summoned a huge wall in time, blocking all the gold dust that was randomly shooting at them. What a strong power! What kind of escape mechanism is this? Raza's eyes widened, and for the first time, he felt that his puppet technique was behind the times. The power of their puppets was simply too different compared to the other side. Originally, he was hoping that everyone would work together to open the situation, but seeing them shocked, Ryuma shouted anxiously, "Please don't hold back. If this continues, I don't know where Naruto-sama will be taken to." Of course, he was worried. He still remembered the perverted look in Kakuzu's eyes when he looked at Danzo-sama. What if some evil photos were to spread tomorrow? Hearing Ryuma's request, Ai said in a deep voice, "Don't test it, let's fight directly, I'll go first, you guys cover." After that, he turned into a thunderbolt and rushed directly into the enemy's camp. He's really as reckless as his father. Inoki raised his hands, and light flashed in his hands. Except for Pain's 5 paths, several people were nervous. The biggest deterrent of dust release was before it was launched. Even if they were confident that they could avoid it, they had to pay attention to Inoki's movements. Seeing Reikage rush up, a group of Jonin no longer hesitated and used their best ninjutsu to surround him from all directions. Obviously, they learned the lesson of Gekido absorbing chakra and scattered their attacks as much as possible. "It's almost time for us to make a move," Bordered Soil whispered to Black Setsu. Mokuton, Tree World Birth. Chapter 399. Yesterday's 2 chapters have been slightly changed, please download the chapters again. As the last hand seal was formed, countless towering trees rose from the ground. The vines were like pythons, hanging those samurai and ninjas who were unable to dodge in time. It's actually the tree world descent that only the first generation and senior Garashi can use. Jia looked at the scene before him in shock. He took a deep breath and formed a hand seal. "With my ability, this is the most I can do." Mokuton, Tree World Descent. Everyone had yet to recover from the shock of the other party being able to use Mokuton, when they saw the ground that was covered by the forest actually surging once again. Like a green wave, all the trees that were planted before were overturned. What the hell is going on? Since when can everyone have such a powerful Kekkei Genkai like Mokuton? Could it be that they are the same as that Mizuki, transplanted with Shimizu Garashi's cells? However, although their Mokuton is also very powerful, it doesn't seem to be on the same level as Garashi-sama's Mokuton. Since they are both using Mokuton, why is there such a difference? What's so strange about this? You and Garashi-sama are both humans. Isn't the difference as big as their Mokuton? I meow. At this moment, a large group of giant summoned beasts trampled on the forest and galloped over. And standing on one of the split dog heads, it was none other than Gekido who was killed earlier. Seeing this, everyone was startled in their heart. Why are there so many giant summoned beasts? Did the Akatsuki establish a special force that specializes in contracting summoned beasts? That fellow has indeed revived. Every time they revive, it means that the process of reviving can be destroyed. As long as we can find their revival point, we will definitely win. These summoned beasts roared in anger. Under the control of the Rinnegan, they became terrifying killing machines. With just a single attack, the formation of the samurai and ninjas was thrown into chaos. They are just some wild beasts, there is nothing to be afraid of. Kagaya encouraged everyone. After that, he formed a seal with one hand and slapped the ground. Although he had lost his right arm, he had never given up on tempering himself all these years. Earth Release, Mountain Earth Technique. The 2 humongous hemispheres, which were as large as mountains, pushed toward each other and crushed two spirit beasts, which could not dodge in time. Seeing Kitsuchi's performance, Inoki nodded with relief, and then launched the long-prepared dust release towards Tendo Pain. He also discovered that this man should be the core of Akatsuki's operation. Moreover, if resurrection required a part of the body to complete, then his dust escape would be the most powerful weapon against them. AI was fighting with pain. When he saw Inoki using the dust release while he was in Pain's blind spot, he couldn't help but be excited. There's a chance. However, as if Pain had eyes on the back of his head, he decisively aimed his right palm at himself and sent him flying with a Shinra Tensei. On the contrary, it was Reikage himself who was almost hit by the dust release. So close. But how did this guy do it? Perception ability? On the other side, the Maelstrom team of 4 unleashed their firepower without restraint. All kinds of bullets, lasers, and rockets covered the sky. These weapons, which did not require any hand seals to produce great power, made the Allied forces suffer. Use long-range ninjutsu to destroy these puppets. No, their mechanical armor's defense is too high, long-range attacks won't work. Then get closer. However, as soon as they approached the other side, they were bound by some kind of curse symbol that spread out from the other side's feet. Is this a seal technique? Are you kidding me? How can these puppets have a seal? And it's a very high-level seal technique. Noticing the situation of the Maelstrom team of 4, Empress Shomiai used lava release, dissolving monster technique. Compared with the 5 attribute release technique, the highly corrosive lava release was just the nemesis of the steel shell on these puppets. Naturally, the 4 couldn't wait for the enemy to attack, but just as they were about to dodge, the golden dust that had been blown up before drifted into the gaps of their puppets, making their dodging movements slow down. Seeing that it was too late to dodge, the 4 opened their mouths and fiercely sprayed flames from their throats. Most of the strong acid was burned and evaporated, but a part of it fell on the puppets, and in an instant, a white mist appeared, and the originally hard mechanical shell was scorched black holes at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing this, those who originally thought that Empress Shomiai was young and her strength was average were surprised and happy. Amazing, as expected of someone who can become a Shadow King. Why do I feel that this little girl is much stronger than Naruto? But at this time, suddenly there was a scream from the direction of Woodleaf. Everyone turned their heads and saw the young man who used wood release before was wrapped in a disgusting white substance, and his face was ferocious. Hurry up and save him. Should we use fire release? But what if the spores on his body are ignited? While they were still wondering if they would accidentally injure him, it suddenly began to make hand seals. Wood release, wood man technique. The next moment, a huge wooden Buddha statue as huge as a mountain appeared in front of everyone in an incomparably shocking form. Is this the move that Garashi-sama used? No, it's still a lot worse, but it's already very strong. Just as everyone was shocked, hundreds of arms of the woodman slammed around. Each arm was like a rocket launcher, causing countless cracks to appear on the thick ground in an instant. The ninja warriors on the coalition side dodged in a panic while shouting. Woodleaf Kid, pay attention to me. Are you trying to betray us? The sound of painful struggle came from the woodman. I'm sorry, I can't control myself. Well, it's reasonable. What the hell? Why did you become stronger after being controlled? Standing on top of the woodman's head, Zetsu laughed. Of course, it's because I'm super compatible with him. Black Zetsu pulled himself away from White Zetsu early, and then let the most talented Whirlpool White Zetsu replace him. After all, it's a battle where Shimizu Garashi may appear, and he doesn't want to meet that guy. A, who was cooperating with Inoki to attack Pain's 4 paths, saw this situation, and his heart kept sinking. Although he had overestimated the Akatsuki organization, he didn't expect that their strength was far beyond his imagination. If it weren't for Shimizu Garashi, the enemy would have been fighting and retreating, and they would probably not be opponents of this organization. Although it doesn't represent the full combat power of the 5 major ninja villages at present, the Akatsuki organization doesn't necessarily come out in full strength. Thinking of this, He only felt heavy in his heart, and at the same time, he couldn't help but think, is the reason why the ninja world can have the current stability on the surface because of Shimizu Garashi's deterrence? Chapter 400. While Raikage's heart was heavy, Pain frowned slightly. This group of fishes is really difficult to deal with. Should I use Shinra Tensei on them? This technique requires all the chakra in the body of the 6 paths, and Tendo will not be able to use ninjutsu for a long time. This is just a side issue. The real trouble is that this technique will reduce the lifespan of the body. This is different from the Rinnegan that slowly squeezes the life potential. This kind of direct reduction in lifespan can't be replenished with life energy. Moreover, Conan deliberately reminded him before he came, if he messed up, Conan will be angry, right? Just as he was thinking about whether to use a big move or not, suddenly, a very powerful chakra broke into his perception range and approached them at a very fast speed. This kind of chakra can only be Garashi. Pain said to himself, and suddenly remembered the Chunin exam 8 years ago. He withdrew halfway in order to hide the Rinnegan, and now, he finally has a chance to fight with Akatsuki. Hoodlum, Sasori, you retreat, I will cover you. After hearing Pain's words, the members of the Akatsuki were stunned for a moment, but they quickly reacted. Is that man coming? I don't want to meet him. In contrast, the members of the allied forces were in high spirits. Great, Garashi, Sama is coming. Stop them, don't let them run away. Pain looked at them coldly, those who get in the way will die. In the direction of Sasori and Hoodlum's escape, a huge monster with 9 eyes closed suddenly appeared. Compared with it, the previous giant psychic beasts were like small mice. What is this? Is it also a psychic beast? It's so big, it must be very clumsy to move, let's go around it. This Geto Mazo was naturally summoned by Nagato in advance, but because the consumption of the Geto Mazo is relatively large, it also has a certain impact on the body. Although the chakra dragon's ability to devour souls is strange, it's not difficult to avoid it as long as you are familiar with it. Therefore, he had not used it before. At this moment, the chakra condensed in the Geto Golem's mouth split into dozens of chakra dragons and pounced on the enemy. What kind of escape technique is this? First, use Earth Escape to defend. The few people at the front had no time to dodge and subconsciously used Earth Escape to defend themselves. However, the materialized chakra dragon actually pierced through the earth wall in an instant. Under the horrified gazes of the few people, it pierced through their bodies. Plop. Those who were pierced by the chakra dragons, or even slightly touched by them, fell straight to the ground. Everyone was horrified at the sight, and those who were still chasing after them hurriedly hid behind them. What kind of ability is this? It's too strange. Putting aside the fact that it can penetrate the defenses of Earth Escape, as long as you touch it, you'll be insta-killed. Not to mention them, even the 4 shadows were shocked. This kind of chakra dragon that can kill anyone who touches it without the slightest ability to resist is too terrifying. The Geto Golem roared, and the chakra dragons became restless again, chasing after the people like the Grim Reaper. However, after being prepared, the ninja coalition was obviously not so easy to kill. Although they fled in embarrassment, no one was hit. Pain was not too surprised by this result. When he used this technique for the first time, he killed the hidden rain ninjas like cutting melons and vegetables, but against Hanzo, he easily escaped. Although these ninjas are far from being comparable to Hanzo, they are still Jonin, and compared to the hidden rain ninjas at that time, they are much stronger. But, I can still do something. Pain raised his hands and opened them to the left and right sides. Bansho Tensei. The ninjas on his left and right sides flew towards him uncontrollably. If it was a normal situation, it might not be a big deal, but now is the time when the chakra dragons are raging, losing control of the body means death. Seeing that the chakra dragons were about to hit them, the ninjas who were pulled by gravity couldn't help but scream in horror. Don't come over. Help. At this moment, an almost solid soul pressure spread out. The bodies of the chakra dragons froze, and then directly collapsed. Pain was also affected, and the gravity that pulled everyone loosened, allowing them to regain control of their bodies. Ha! We are saved. But, what happened just now? Pain looked in a certain direction with some disbelief. How did you do it? Aura or soul? You actually affected me and the chakra dragons in this way. In that direction, Garashi jumped down from the tree lightly and laughed softly. This kind of thing, of course, can be done if you want to. Hearing the conversation between the two, everyone looked at Garashi with shock and admiration. Worthy of the god of ninjas, I have never heard of aura that can have this kind of effect. The chakra dragons that we can't even fight against, don't even have the ability to face him? Sure enough, he is super powerful. Pain was shocked in his heart, since mastering the ability of Rinnegan, it was the first time he felt pressure. At this time, the huge wooden puppet that pretended to be calm suddenly attacked, hundreds of arms like a storm madly slapped down. For a while, the ground collapsed, and Garashi was also buried by this violent attack. It's too despicable, it's a sneak attack. Garashi-sama, he will be fine. Garashi-sama is the god of ninjas. How can he lose to this kind of pirated goods? Although there were some worries in everyone's heart, they were more confident. After all, Garashi-sama has never lost. The next moment, an incomparably huge Buddha statue stretched out from the dust, and the wooden puppet that was still trying to slap it staggered and was almost pushed down by the sudden appearance of the Buddha. Compared with the previous wooden puppet, the difference between the two was like a giant and a dwarf. The action of the wooden puppet hitting the Buddha was more like a child hitting the knees of an adult with a small fist, which looked funny. Let me teach you what the wood escape technique is. As soon as his voice fell, Garashi manipulated the 1,000 arms of the huge Buddha statue to attack together. As if the sky was falling, the earth trembled violently, and the seemingly incomparably powerful wooden puppet disintegrated instantly. In the midst of the flying sawdust, an arm grabbed armor that fell from it, and with a gentle twist of the finger, the spore body that wrapped him was quickly rubbed off. I'm saved. Armor gasped, standing on the palm of the Buddha statue, looked at Garashi with admiration and shouted, Garashi-san, thank you so much. In the distance, Ryoma, who was injured by a few accelerated pebbles and sawdust, looked at this scene angrily, and felt uncomfortable. Armor, how dare this guy? He doesn't know that Shimizu Garashi is Danzo-sama's. Wait, Danzo-sama. Thinking of this, Ryoma's face turned pale, and shouted, go save Naruto-sama. Chapter 401. Hearing Ryuma's call, everyone had a strange expression. That Naruto-sama. Can he really be saved? Although they all felt that Woodleaf should prepare the ransom in advance or prepare the next Naruto, they still reluctantly followed. Seeing them rush over, the Gedo Mazo roared and rushed forward to block them. Every punch and stomp of its feet were all calamity-grade attacks. Even without the chakra dragons, its body that contained extreme power was also a great deterrent. Then, the huge Buddha statue under Garashi's feet quickly met the Gedo Mazo. Because it has no soul, it is not afraid of the sudden attack of the chakra dragon, and the Buddha statue's strength is not inferior to the Gedo Mazo. The two monsters directly fought in close combat. From a distance, it looked like two mountain gods fighting with their bodies. Every collision can cause a large earthquake, making the surrounding people unable to stand still. Seeing this disaster-level battle, and the root cause is the summoned beast summoned by the two, Mifune was shocked and secretly sighed. Although the training experience and secret training books sent by Sir Aizen in the past 3 years have made the samurai grow a lot, but compared to the ninjas who occupy the mainstream of this world, we are still too far behind. At least, he can't imagine how the samurai will deal with this disaster beast. Slashing with a sword may not even scratch its skin. Seeing this, Pain frowned slightly. His several bodies are clones, even if all of them die, it doesn't matter. But even so, he is not sure if he can hold off Shimizu Garashi, not to mention that there are still people from the 5 major ninja villages here. Uncle Aizen's helper should have appeared, right? Just as he was thinking secretly, a low voice sounded behind him. You go intercept the others, I will deal with him. However, I can help you intercept him for 3 minutes at most, I can't do more than that. Hearing this voice, Pain looked back in surprise. Behind him, a man wearing a mask stood calmly. He is Aizen. Wait, why are his eyes Byakugan? Pain's pupils shrank slightly, and through the mask, he saw a pair of pure white eyes. Is he from the Hyuga clan? It's not that he looks down on the Byakugan, but most people in the shinobi world think that the Rinnegan is higher than the Sharingan and the Byakugan. Otherwise, during the Warring States period, it wouldn't be the Uchiha clan that was on par with the Senju clan, but the Hyuga clan that was much easier to awaken than the Sharingan. Moreover, if the Hyuga clan has such a strong person, they wouldn't be bullied by Danzo. Is it the same as Kirin's AO, who secretly took the Byakugan? No matter how he guessed, Kirito had already walked up to him with heavy steps. Although I don't want to stop you, you've received benefits from them after all. I have to do something. Garashi clenched his fists. Then let's try. As soon as he finished speaking, Garashi appeared in front of him like lightning, his clenched fist swinging down like a hammer. Boom! The punch that produced a sonic boom sent Kirito flying and smashed into the ground like a cannonball. The earth trembled, and a large number of rock layers collapsed, burying the enemy directly in the ruins. The allied forces in the distance were shocked. When they saw that person coming to stop them, they thought that it was some kind of super strong person, but it turned out to be this? After all this time, he's just courting death. I can do it too. Yeah. I didn't expect. Wait, that guy is still alive. Kirito rushed out of the ground, except for some damaged clothes, he didn't have any injuries on his body. He actually took Garashi-sama's punch head-on. I heard that the Rokubi was seriously injured by Garashi-sama. Seeing that Kirito was unscathed, Pain was also relieved. Sure enough, you have some skills. At least, he knew that he couldn't take this punch with his body alone. Garashi showed a hint of surprise. How did you do it? Because the invincibility only lasted for 1 minute, in order to create the image of Kirito's invincible defense, Garashi rushed forward and beat Kirito violently. Everyone present couldn't even keep up with the speed of his punches. They could only see the afterimages and the ripples in the surrounding space. The enemy was constantly sent flying at a speed faster than the speed of sound. Occasionally, they would fall to the ground, and in an instant, a long and narrow gully was plowed in the ground. When they accidentally hit the Ghetto Golem, even the Ghetto Golem was sent flying by the transmitted force. Everyone was terrified. Although Garashi's taijutsu wasn't as flashy and difficult to deal with as Hayaton and Mokuton, it was far more powerful in terms of attack power. At least, they couldn't imagine how strong the aftershock was to be able to send the Ghetto Golem flying. But what shocked them even more was that the person who came out of nowhere actually took all of Garashi's attacks. Was this guy a diamond spirit? Seeing that the image was almost created, Garashi stopped and stood up. It should be some kind of ability, right? You neutralized all of my attacks and even my mental attacks. Kirito didn't answer. He just asked, do you want to come again? Instead of wasting time on you, it's better to restrain you directly here. After saying that, Garashi symbolically made a hand seal. Mokuton, entanglement of roots. The ground under Kirito's feet suddenly grew a large number of tough roots and bound his body. Seeing that Garashi was about to leave, Kirito said, do you really think that I only know how to defend and not attack? In the next moment, the solidified chakra opened its roots and quickly expanded outside his body, finally turning into a huge armored samurai shining with a pale golden light. Indra was able to open Susa with only 3 tomo, and Uchiha Madara was able to open Susa without eyes. Garashi's spiritual power and attainments in Yin style were even above them. Even if it was only his second attempt, he could open Susa to its full form without any burden. Looking at the huge armored samurai, the surrounding ninjas were once again horrified. Not to mention the huge size, just the bright light of the chakra alone was enough to scare them. Even the tailed beasts seem to be inferior to this terrifying armored samurai. What kind of ability is this? It's amazing. Not only is his defense invincible, but even his attack is so powerful. I think I saw Byakugan under the mask before. So Byakugan is so powerful? I thought Byakugan was an obscene dojutsu specialized in seeing through things. Seeing this familiar scene, Black Zetsu, who was secretly observing, rubbed his eyes subconsciously. Since when can Byakugan open Susa? And it's the full form of Susa. I can't bear to learn it. Be careful, Sharingan will sue you for infringement. Who the hell is this guy? Could it be the branch of Hamura's family on the moon? You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.